Rob Brown Show. Yeah, only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. Hello to you, and how do you do? Welcome in. Upstate South Carolina, the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. What is up, y'all? Great to be with you here on a Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. I am Rob Brown, my partner in crime, Alonzo. Back in the network studio, pushing buttons, switching switches, making the show sound as good as it does. Let's get it rolling, y'all. We have got a million things to talk about today on the show. The Olympics, another hurdle in the way between us and the opening ceremony. We're going to break that down. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to excite you too much in the first segment of the show. I absolutely do. That's literally like sports talk radio tip number one. But, Lonzo, the Stanley Cup playoffs begin this weekend, man. NHL playoff hockey is here. I've got your full round one brackets ready to go. A quick preview of every one of the first round competitions. That's coming up in a little while. Tell you why it is that the Hurricanes have got a bit of a challenge in round one, but a pretty likely path to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's coming up around the corner. We're going to take an overall cumulative look at the NFL's 2021 schedule. Yesterday, we went in depth breaking down the Panthers' 2021 schedule. Today, we take a look around the rest of the league, pull out some of our favorite matchups that were built into the schedule. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Yesterday, the show for men had an issue with me and Lonzo, and we are absolutely going to return fire today in the broadcast. So you are going to want to make sure you stick around for that. The unwritten rules of baseball back in the news as Thor himself, Noah Syndergaard, has just elevated him. He was already one of my favorite pitchers in all of baseball, and he has just elevated himself up to elite tier. As far as I am concerned, I am going to tell you why in just a little while. And in the NBA, the Charlotte Hornets have made the play-in tournament, but whether they are seeded as the 8 seed or the 9 seed is TBD. And there is a massive advantage to being elevated to the 8 seed. I'll tell you what Charlotte needs to do in order to make it to that seed, and whether or not I think that they can pull it off. All of that coming up on the show today. I'll tell you what, though, we have got so much to do. What do you say we just jump right into this bad boy? Let's just get this thing rolling.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys hear? What in the wide world of sports is going on here? Lunch!
How rude of me. How are you, Lonzo? How's your day, man?
I'm great. It's Friday, and I can't wait to hear exactly what that show for men said about us.
Don't worry. You will. I got the audio from it and everything.
Wow. That's skills that other show doesn't seem to possess. That's
skills
funny.
That with the Z, that pay the bills with a Z. Hey, man, you want to fire. You want to take the first shot. You want to fire the first broadside. You will get it back. Item number one on our lunch breakdown, the 3 things you have to know before we go talking sports with our friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. The Olympics. We've been keeping an eye on the Olympics because, Lonzo, I got to tell you, man, I love the Olympics. I love international competition. I love it at the amateur level. I love it when you have people whose entire life is dedicated towards being one of the best in the world at what they do to go represent their country. I love the Olympics. I have been absolutely geeked about the Olympics. I am absolutely pumped about the Olympics. And now I'm worried that they're not going to happen. I'm getting more and more nervous that they may ultimately get called off. Japan on Friday further expanded a state of emergency from the pandemic for 6 areas. They went from 6 areas to 9, including Tokyo, as Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga repeated his determination to hold the Olympics in just over 2 months. Japan has been struggling to slow infection rates of the coronavirus ahead of the games. The 3 additions to the state of emergency areas are Japan's northern island of Hokkaido, where the Olympic marathon is to be held, plus Hiroshima and Okayama in western Japan. Now, the disappointing thing here is that from what I have read, from what I've been able to determine, it sounds as if the majority of the issue is coming from the Japanese government's failure to move past levels of bureaucracy that have prevented them from putting in place basic protocols to control the spread of the coronavirus. Japan right now is hovering around 1% of their population being vaccinated, while there are millions and millions of doses of coronavirus vaccines sitting in freezers in hospitals around that country. And it is because every time Japan attempts to roll out a plan for vaccination around the country, something that would go a long way in slowing down the spread before the Olympics, those who love to roll around in red tape step in and start calling out all the different reasons, all the different problems that they cannot get those vaccinations out. And it is wildly disappointing. The opportunity is there. The vaccinations are there. There are people ready and willing to take them, but the government continues to find ways to prevent those vaccines from being distributed to the people who are ready for them. And it blows my mind because for all the heat that the United States has taken for vaccination rates, etc., here's a fact. Last Saturday, just under a week ago, I was in Atlanta for the Braves games. And at the Braves game, Lonzo, at the Braves game, they had a station set up. They had a station set up where you could, for free, walk up, get your first or second shot of the vaccination, get your card stamped, and be ready to roll. And the Braves were giving away a free baseball game ticket to a future Braves game if you received your vaccination at the game. NASCAR. We talked yesterday about how it is painting with a broad brush, but I don't think it's unfair. The vaccination rate, as somebody on the text line said yesterday, the amount of vaccination rates, you can get a pretty good guess of what side of the political spectrum someone falls on based on whether or not they are eager to get the vaccine or holding off or refusing it altogether. Well, NASCAR, which again, painting with that same broad brush, its political stance pretty much skews one way. NASCAR is offering at Talladega right now, if you go to Talladega and go to the raceway and you get your vaccination, Lonzo, you get 2 laps around Talladega in a stock car. They will just give you a NASCAR ride for getting the shot. The state of Ohio is committed now. If you get your vaccination in Ohio, you are entered into a $1 million lottery where they will give $1 million to some Ohio resident that gets vaccinated. There are some states that are talking about offering scholarships and tuition reductions in colleges to get vaccinated in those states. The choice remains yours. But the point is, while the discussion is raging, the United States has found ways to get the vaccination available, not mandatory, but available. Japan is about to cost themselves and the world the Olympics because they cannot find a way to at least make them available, if not mandatory. Zoe, I got to tell you, as I watch NFL and MLB stadiums go back to full capacity, as I watch life slowly, day by day, getting back to normal here in the States, my man, if we lose the Olympics when there are millions of doses of vaccine while there are literally zero protocols going into effect in Japan, if Japan costs the world the Olympics by not taking just the baseline steps to control this, and tens of thousands of Japanese citizens are saying, until you get it straightened out, we don't want the Olympics here. If Japan costs the world the Olympics, so I am going to be bummed out. That's about as strong of a statement as I can make.
Well, it would definitely stink because I'm looking forward to being up at 3 a.m. watching badminton because I'm not really joking, by the way. Badminton on the Olympic level is intense.
Yes.
Check it out if you get the chance.
I wasn't laughing because I thought it was a joke. I was laughing because, hell yeah, you are spot on.
It's a shame we couldn't bring him over here. I know it's short notice, but there's several Olympic stadiums in the United States that probably still exist and could house a lot of these events.
Yeah, and we are at a point where it is too late to move them. It's too late to move them. You've already got. And I was just a couple of weeks away from the athletes beginning to arrive in Japan to start training in the facilities. It's a disappointment.
Well, if you look at the events, I mean, you definitely could move this. I mean, there's some things like surfing. Surfing is move that to Hawaii or California, I guess. I don't know I don't know how the tides roll in California at this time of year. I don't know. I always wanted to surf, but never got the chance. But a lot of this stuff is indoor things like judo, taekwondo, things like that, basketball. These are all things that could be moved to another site, I think, fairly quickly. And if they weren't going to allow fans anyway, I don't know why they can't move it. I get it's short notice, but I mean, move it to several different countries. Why not? Just don't cancel it.
Right. That's my whole thought. We'll come back to that here in just a few minutes. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. The Stanley Cup Playoffs get kicked off this weekend, and we have got the schedule ready for you here. Very, very excited about the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Remember, the Stanley Cup Playoffs this year are different than they have been in years past. The divisions as we know them have been done away with. We have a North Division this year. The 31 teams were realigned into the Northwest, Central, and Eastern Division for this season only. The Canadian border was closed for international travel throughout the season. And so what the NHL decided to do was to group all 7 Canadian franchises into the North Division so they could all play in Canada and not have to worry about taking on American teams. The other 3 divisions had 8 U.S.-based teams each and were organized geographically. Teams only played within their divisions in order to limit travel, both for player safety in the pandemic and to cut down on travel costs in a season where the NHL knew they were going to lose a ton of money without fans being able to come to the arena. The top 4 seeds from each division advance to the Stanley Cup playoff. 1 will play 4, 2 will play 3. The 2 winners will move on, and the 4 ultimate divisional winners will then move on into the semifinals of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You will have only 1 Canadian team able to advance out of the divisional round. You will have 3 American teams. It does have the potential to create some interesting matchups in the semifinals and in the Stanley Cup finals. That is the way it's going to work. Our first round playoffs begin this weekend. On Saturday, the Bruins and the Capitals get it going on in round number 1. We have on Sunday a handful of games beginning. Islanders and Penguins on Sunday. We also have Lightning at Panthers on Sunday. And we have the Golden Knights versus the Wild on Sunday. On Monday, the Predators and the Hurricanes get underway. Game number 1, the Predators are the 4 seed. The Canes are the 1 seed. That game will be at 8 p.m. on Monday evening. We've also got Monday kicking off the Avalanche and the Blues. The Avalanche earning the number 1 overall seed in these Stanley Cup playoffs. And then because of coronavirus delays and reschedules, we've got a few others that are starting later on in the week. On Thursday, the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs will get going. On Wednesday, the Jets and the Oilers will get going, as well as the Northern Division playoffs will start a little bit later in the week due to the fact that they had so many reschedules within within their little Northern Division bubble. So Stanley Cup playoffs starting this week. We'll have more breakdown of round 1 coming up in a little while. And finally, item number 3. And this we are going to buck into the next segment because it's going to take some time. Our 2021 NFL schedule is out yesterday. We broke down the Carolina Panthers schedule. Today, we take a look through the rest of the National Football League. I have gone through and picked out a handful of my favorite matchups, a handful of the most interesting narratives that will be told from game to game and competition to competition. When we come back here in just a minute, I am going to give you the dates on the calendar to schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, it is easier for you to circle those dates on the calendar now and then be able to get out of any obligations that come up in football season, as opposed to doing what I do and waiting until Friday and going, babe, I know you wanted to go antiquing on Sunday, but big matchup X is happening and I really need to watch it. So I'm going to give you the dates you need to circle now so that you don't have to miss a moment of the biggest matchups in this year's NFL season. That's coming up next. What are you laughing at, Lonzo? You know I'm right.
No, I can just completely, I can picture you antiquing. That's all. You wouldn't look out of place and you probably would find some good deals.
Your boy is absolutely a fantastic antiquer. I've got an eye, though. More often than not, however, I come home with junk that you and I would think is awesome, and that's why I live by myself. Lonzo, I have a sword collection. Not a sword. I've got a sword collect. I have a cutlass. I have a broadsword. I have a rapier, and I have found almost all of them in antique collections.
That, by the way, is an arsenal. It's not a collection.
Arsenal. I would think an arsenal would be like things that like firearms, right?
I don't believe so. I think an arsenal is weapons in general, but we can look.
I thought that was a cache, like a cache of weapons.
It could be.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, join us on the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate because you know what we're talking about for the next 3 minutes. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. Josh, happy Friday, big fella. Thanks for coming by. 2 more days. We got a Sunday fun day matchup down there at Legacy Early College, Triumph Union in Omaha. We're going to break that game down later on in the show. Absolutely. And yes, I would love for people to continue to join the Rob Brown Show streaming community. Look, I've told you guys, and I mean this, my goal is for our online presence to have as many people watching it and viewing it and interacting with us as we do on the actual radio. I want this to become a show within itself, right? Like, I would like to get to the point where the streaming community is so large that I can justify doing a radio show and a separate streaming broadcast down the line. So, but I gotta grow it here first. So this is why I've said it. I mean this, and I'm begging. I'm not above it. If you will share this around to people you think, if you know someone you think will enjoy the show, if you know someone who's got the same stupid sense of humor and loves sports, share this around. Share it out on your social media streams. Even if you just send invites to people your friends and family with, and say, "Hey, man, I think you'll enjoy this show. I think you'll like how it works, and we want you to interact with us." Send it to them, man. Send it to them. We absolutely want you guys to help us grow this thing. Lonzo and I would love to get to a point where we have as many people hanging out on the stream as we do listening on the radio on any given day.
All right, so I don't know if you looked up the meaning of arsenal, but it's a collection of weapons and military equipment stored by a country, person, or group. So weapons in general would mean, like, a bunch of swords would be an arsenal.
Okay.
At least that's the way I read. I mean, you can.
Swords are by definition weapons. See, I would have assumed that it was a I always assumed arsenal meant, guns, cannons, firearms, ranged weapons. Melee damage weapons would be a cache.
All right. I looked up cache, a collection of items of the same type stored in a hidden or inaccessible place.
Well, that would definitely be accurate, because I really should hang my swords one day, Zoe.
So you don't have your swords hung? Okay.
No, I do not. I have them stored predominantly because at the point in time where I was in the dating game, what I found, Zoe, was that many women, maybe most women, if they came to the house and saw 4 or 5 swords hanging over the television, it wasn't what we in the biz call a turn on.
So they wouldn't immediately go over and look at your collection of dirks.
I will say this.
Do you have a dirk in your collection?
I do not have a dirk in my collection. I do not. I'm trying to think. I have a broadsword. I have a rapier. I have a cutlass. I have a broadsword. I think those are the 4 that I have right now.
How many weapons do you need before it becomes an arsenal or a cache? Or cache, rather. So it got to be 3 or more, probably?
I would say at least, right? Because if you got 2, you got a couple of swords.
All right, so I have...
Once you get past 3, you need a new name.
I have a machete and a... I have a machete signed by the guy who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2, and I also have Lionel's sword. So, but both of them are mounted. Although the machete I could get out pretty easily if I needed it.
I
have a buddy who not only has all the stuff that you're talking about, but he also has a collection of spears. And he did have them all mounted, like on the wall. Like in a dojo, in a kung fu movie where you see all the weapons on the wall type thing. I one of those. I think would be kind of cool, actually. Take it.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. How do you do? NFL schedule 2021 is out. And listen to your boy Rob Brown. It is easier to go ahead and open up the old Google Calendar or Apple Calendar or whatever it is you use to keep track of your life. Or if you're like me, notepads with sticky notes stuck to your door. Whatever it is you use to organize your life. I should really get better at that. And punch in dates now. In order to make sure that when NFL season rolls around, because you know it happens inevitably, right? You get to Friday afternoon and you're looking ahead and it's week 12 and you go, oh my, I've got this rivalry game this weekend. There is a narrative on the line here that could play into the NFL competition for years to go. And then you get the call, honey, don't forget, we scheduled dinner with my mom this weekend. Can't miss that. It's Sunday at exactly the same time as that game that you want to watch. It happens. So instead, put these dates on your calendar now. And that way, when that dinner invite comes up, you can say, oh, sorry, boo. Already got that red circle on the calendar. And it's been there since May 14th when Rob Brown tried to help me out. And I took advantage of that advice. And here we are. Schedule it for next weekend. Here's a handful of games that I went through yesterday, circled on the calendar, and am keeping an eye on it. We are going to start in week number 1, Lonzo, and we are going to start with your squad. Week 1, Browns at Chiefs. This game, I am here for. The Browns look great on paper. They added some pieces during the offseason. They got crushed 38-6 in week 1 of last season. They had to recover from that. They did, and they looked great, but then they got eliminated by the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. If you don't think Baker and Co. is going to come out throwing haymakers to try to prove that they belong in the playoff discussion by knocking off the reigning AFC champions, but it's not like Patty Mahomes and company aren't going to have something to say about it, aren't going to have a desire to prove that despite the fact that they got thumped by the Bucs, that they are the best team in that conference. Lonzo, Chiefs, Browns, week 1. If there's a game in week 1 that is must watch, that's it right there.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm looking forward to it. I do need some advice, though, because I have my best friend in the entire world I've known my entire life is a big-time Cleveland Browns fan, and he's finally excited. He's finally happy. It was building since last year. His team is playing my team. Do I talk stuff, or do I just let it go and let him enjoy the build-up? And who knows, maybe they could actually beat Kansas City.
Here's why you don't. And you guys know I love a good bit of smack talk, but here's why you don't, Lonzo. You don't because, first off, don't take away his joy and happiness. He's a Browns fan. One of my best friends from back in Destin is a Browns fan, and I haven't seen him excited about football in ever. Don't take that away from him.
And see, that's my way of thinking, but he will send me the text right before the game starts, not trying to get me to talk stuff, but he will send me the text. Yeah, well, enjoy this game. Your team's probably going to win anyway, because he's a Browns fan, and that's what he expects.
As a Saints fan, yeah.
That's
exactly how it works.
So how do you respond to that? Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I don't know. How do you respond, or do you just not respond?
Hey, good luck, and here's why. Because if the Browns pull it off and you ran smack at him, you're getting it back tenfold, right? You're getting it back tenfold. And that's a game that if he wins, you could go on and win the Super Bowl, and he will still go, yeah, that's cool. But who beat the Super Bowl champs? Oh, that's right, we did. And there's no comeback to that.
Or do I just come back with praise for his team, talking about how good Baker Mayfield looks, the defense, and all the additions that they've made there, and just uplift his team before the game?
Now,
does that kind of still?
Just say good luck, and that way That because if you do win that game, if you were super nice before the game and then after the game you're like, oh, by the way, you're still Cleveland, then you're just a jerk. Leave the door open to have the smack talk sent back on. Week 5, another game I have got on the calendar. This one also involving your team, Lonzo. I didn't do this on purpose, but it just worked out that way. Week 5, Bills at Chiefs. Another team eliminated by Kansas City in the playoffs. The Bills had a shaky performance in the AFC title game. The rematch will be tighter. Josh Allen and the Bills have gotten better via the draft, a couple of free agents. This is the potential. We'll see what the Chiefs did because Buffalo's going to run a decent defensive line at you. Lonzo, this is a must-win game for me for the Chiefs. If the Bills win this game, the wins of the AFC begin to change direction. But if the Chiefs can knock the Bills out in week number 5, then the crown stays on the head of Patrick Mahomes. If it doesn't, we're going Game of Thrones in the AFC through the rest of the season.
Man, Kansas City's got a brutal schedule. They absolutely do. And this is not all about me, but my best friend in South Carolina is a Buffalo Bills fan, and I'm absolutely talking stuff to him without a doubt, and he deserves every single bit of it. There will be smack talk before, during, and after the beatdown that Kansas City puts on the Buffalo Bills.
Week number 4. This one I know Zoe has got on the calendar circled in red with shiny little star stickers around it. Bucks at Patriots. Bucks at Patriots. Here's the deal. Last year, there were no fans in the stands in Foxborough, so it's a good thing that the Brady return to New England is scheduled for this year when we will have them. Zoe and I and Mark and Diesel had many, many discussions last year about who deserves the credit. Is it Bill Belichick? Is it Tom Brady? Is it some combination of the two? I said, and I believe that Brady gets like 75 to 80% of the credit for what the Patriots did. He goes up against his former mentor. You know that he is going to bring his A game. Hoodie, though, may be the only guy in the NFL that knows how to get inside of Brady's head and break down what he wants to do. And, of course, on top of all of that, Cam Newton, you know he's going to want to prove himself going against the Tom Brady. Brady and the Bucks versus Cam and the Patriots in week number 4, Lonzo. Do not miss that game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. And texters, don't come at me with your hate. Yeah, I know I still owe Mark Ryan a lunch over last year. I know that. And I'm not paying it up till he shows up. I mean, that's how that works. When he comes back to work, I will march in there and give him the money, or I actually take him out for lunch. I have no problem with that. I lost that bet. But this game this year it's a totally different thing. Last year, the Patriots were depleted. They had all those players opting out. And I am curious, and I hope that it's full stands. Will they boo Brady? Can you call yourself a fan of a team and not boo the guy who left you?
Yes, the man won you 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, but he's no longer with your team.
This is exactly what I expect to happen when Cam
They
returns.
need to boo his butt off the field.
This is how it works to me.
But Cam is different. Cam didn't ask to leave the Panthers.
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Tom Brady decided to leave.
I get what you're saying. My answer is if I'm a Pats fan. When Brady makes his way onto the field, standing ovation, thanks for everything you did. I understand that not all relationships can end the way we want them to. But when the whistles blow, from whistle 1 to the final, I am harassing Tom Brady with everything I have. And then after the game's over, as he leaves the field, golf clap once again. The dude won you 6 Super Bowls, all right? You only get to brag about being the GOAT franchise because of Thomas Alfred Wayne Christopher.
He deserted you. He said you weren't good enough. He doesn't appreciate you as fans. He decided to go where it was warmer. There's so many reasons why
he reason to do a thing though.
Well, I'm not opposed to the warmer thing. That's one of the reasons why I moved here. But in the end, it's very disrespectful to the fans. The fact that he just left. He's absolutely decided another team, another fan base was better than you. After all the love that you gave him, he decided the Tampa Bay fan base is better than the Patriots fan base.
I'm pretty sure that Tom Brady could run into a burning animal shelter and save 5 litters of puppies from death, run back outside, and Lonzo would be going, well, why didn't you find them a home, Tom Brady? Why didn't you get them adopted? Do you hate puppies, Tom Brady?
I would never do such a thing. It's puppies, man. Come on. Now, kittens, that's a totally different story.
There's a couple of games for you. I will sprinkle some more through the rest of the schedule as we move forward. I'm also going to give you later on Vegas over-unders and the teams that I like the most to hit the over and the teams I don't like the most to hit the over. That's coming up later on in the show. But when we come back, Mark Ryan and Diesel took a shot at me and Zoe yesterday. Load the cannons, boys. It's time to return fire on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker.
Just say.
I can't wait to hear this because I didn't hear it. I just saw a post. So it's going to be fresh for me.
It's going to be fresh.
Golf card in the next break.
Golf card.
So I got up this morning before I did my cardio. I purchased a game and I cannot wait to go home and play it.
Was it the one you were telling me about the other day?
Yes, Mass Effect Legends, which I know I've already played the game, but it was one of my favorite games of all time. And it's been, redone in HD, which would be awesome for the first game because of, I believe it was on the 360. So to see what they've been, and you can carry your character creation across all 3 games, and it has all of the DLC, including the Shadow Broker, which is one of my favorite DLCs of any game of all time. So, and somehow I got to squeeze in some Bad Batch and some other stuff in there too.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten around to watching Bad Batch.
Oh, it's good.
Is it?
It really is. Oh yeah. But there again, I like the Snyder cut. So, what do I know?
I like how your thing is now, Rob, here's this thing that I know you're going to like, but maybe you won't because Justice League.
Well, we're developing here. So
Also, by the way, I absolutely want the Nomad Justice League v Evil Superman movie.
yeah, Evil Superman's pretty wicked.
The only thing about that, I loved in the fact, I did love some of, there were some good one-liners in Justice League. When Flash looks at Batman, he's like, what's your superpower? And Ben's like, I'm rich. I'm like, yeah, finally someone said it. I don't understand how Nomad Batman without resources and tech works, right? At that point, he's just a really good human fighter.
Well, there is a version of Batman in a series called Future State that DC did just a couple months ago, which is like 20 years in the future. And Batman, Bruce Wayne's supposedly dead. and he's putting things together from parts that he finds in the trash and stuff like that, which shows how smart he is, from a technical standpoint and stuff. So he's taking things down without his money, because all his money is gone now at this point, and still is. He's no longer rich in the comic books.
I mean, I guess the equalizer.
Text us anytime at 71307. Use keyword ESPN followed by your comment. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
All right, so yesterday on Offsides with Mark Ryan, Diesel and Mark came after us for one particular reason. And here, I'll just play you the audio. This is from a segment they did called Weak Sauce or Strong Like Bull. He said optimistically before realizing that he didn't push the right button on his computer. Let me get that set back up. Hold 2 seconds, please. And there we go. Let's try that one more time again. Weak Sauce or Strong Like Bull from Mark Ryan and Diesel.
In here. All right. And to be fair, I didn't know the answer to this question until I did the research. I didn't know what our partners in crime had said on their Twitter profile. But I went to Rob Brown's Twitter profile, and I scrolled through it, and I read it from Friday until today. And Rob Brown, I know someone close to him is a big Gamecock fan, but Rob Brown had no public comment on Twitter about Bob Caslin. Rob Brown, we are radio show hosts. We have an audience outside of the show that wants to know what the hell we think about what is going on. And Rob Brown, you had not one comment on Twitter about Bob Caslin stumbling through a commencement speech. Rob Brown.
Weak Sauce!
And then finally, Lonzo Reitzel. Might as well be Lonzo Wrongzel on this one. He is a Gamecock fan, right? Can we confirm this?
Yes.
Lonzo is a Gamecock fan?
Yes.
Lonzo does work in sports radio, right? We can confirm this. He works in sports radio. He is a Gamecock fan who works in sports radio. There was not one single bloody comment from Lonzo to his Twitter audience about Bob Caslin, about how he feels about Bob Caslin. Lonzo Wrongzel.
Weak Sauce!
That is my verdict. That is my verdict on all the above. Oh, but
So there you go. He went through the social media profiles of a number of sports talk personalities around the upstate, looking to see if they commented on anything regarding the Bob Caslin situation. And for those of you who didn't hear it, I don't know how you could have missed it. Last Saturday or Sunday, Bob Caslin, the former president of the University of South Carolina, in a commencement address in the stadium at U of SC, called it the University of California, and then it would come out later in the week, plagiarized about 2 minutes worth of speech from a previous commencement address delivered by somebody else and read it as his own without attribution. It was an embarrassment. Bob Caslin tried to tender his resignation once. The Board of Trustees at the University of South Carolina rejected the resignation the first time. He tendered it again. They accepted it the second time. So Mark says that we have failed our station by not comment. I'm station in life, not ESPN Upstate. We obviously elevate this station every single day here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate, but failed our station as sports talk host by offering no public comment on Bob Caslin. And I have a couple of responses to that. First and foremost, Mark Ryan last week on literally his own show went on a tangent about Twitter saying, hey, like 8% of our total audience is on Twitter. We barely get interactions on Twitter that come into comparison with the number of text and phone calls and emails that we get. So not everything needs to go on Twitter. And then 4 days later puts me on blast for not tweeting enough. All right. Here's the second thing. I understand that Bob Caslin was the president of the university, and I understand that Bob Caslin holds some decision-making prowess amongst the athletics department. But Bob Caslin is not the athletic director. He is not the football coach. He is not anybody that University of South Carolina sports fans have repeated interactions with. He doesn't make all of the decisions. That's where the Board of Trustees comes in. If you wanted to have a shot, it would be at the Board of Trustees. Then the third point I would make before I turn it over to Zoe for his thoughts is this. Yeah, we didn't talk about it on Twitter, but the majority of what I say on Twitter, Lonzo, is just smart-ass commentary about other things. Yeah, I get serious on it every now and then, but the majority of it is just me being a smart-ass and having fun on Twitter. Do you know where we did talk about Bob Caslin? Do you know where I did draw connections to issues about Bob Caslin and the situation in South Carolina? Do you know where I did call out South Carolina for rejecting the resignation in the first place, which was 100% a political move to save face that they then realized didn't work before they accepted the resignation? On my radio show, Mark, on my radio show, that place where people come to listen to what I have to say. I did. You yourself said 8% of our audience is on Twitter. The other 92% of our audience take us in on air or on the stream. And that's where we talked about it repeatedly over the past handful of days, both after the commencement ceremony over the weekend, after the first resignation letter was tendered, and after the second one was accepted. That's where we talked about this. Mark, that's where we talked about this. Lonzo, the floor is yours.
All right, so I'm not going to be. I'm not going. First of all, let me be old guy here, because I am old guy here. You know, last I checked, and you just pointed this out, and this was going to be my point. What's on the air is the most important thing. We are paid to be entertaining on the air. Yes, social media is important, but it's secondary. It is not the end all be all. And just because we didn't go on a crusade like somebody else did, and is secretly probably patting themselves on the back that they got someone fired because of what they did. That's just not us. You know what? I finally figured this out, and I probably should have figured it out after a couple years with Mark. He's trying really hard to be Jerry Seinfeld. It just, I mean, as I'm listening to his delivery and his clips there, trying so hard to be Jerry Seinfeld.
What's the deal with Robin Zoe?
Exactly. And there's only one Jerry Seinfeld, and Mark Ryan, you are not it. And if Jerry Seinfeld spelt his name, he would spell it with a K, not a C. And that's really, and Wrongsoul, man, that was creative. Yeah, that was creative. And the only reason why you talked about what we said is because you don't have the technical acumen to actually pull the audio like Rob Brown just did.
Here's the thing. The day after this all happened, and this may sound crazy, spoke with a lot of our listeners on the air, through text, on Twitter, and face-to-face. And yes, they were disappointed, and yes, they were embarrassed. And everybody knew that, right? Everybody knew that. But the conversation basically came down to South Carolina fans are embarrassed, and Clemson fans now have ammunition to make fun of them. That's the whole conversation. We did do a segment where I said, hey, look, let's call a spade here. He got that job because the governor wanted him to have that job. He was handpicked by Henry McMaster to get their job. The faculty, the administration, the students did not want him there. They thought he was wrong for the gig. They were wrong. They were right. Henry McMaster was wrong. That's just what happened, okay? And then, Zoe, I went one step further and said, and it makes sense to me now that inside baseball gets people jobs at the University of South Carolina. Frank Martin getting to keep his job because politicians wanted to keep it, even though the students and the fans and the faculty didn't want him to stay on board, now makes sense. And I went on to say on the air, that is a problem at South Carolina that I now identify. I did a whole segment on that, but I guess that's good enough because I didn't send out a mean tweet. So I would like to apologize for the 8% of my audience that apparently only dissect what I have to say. By the way, the 8% of our audience that are on Twitter, they're also in our audience and listen to what I have to say on the radio and got to hear what I had to say. All right? So there's my defense. I will listen for Mark's return salvo this afternoon. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. 1 segment left and 2 hours to go on a Friday. It's ESPN Upstate, baby.
Golf cart.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
The Preserve at Verde, Pebble Creek, Legacy Pines, the Rock Golf Club and Resort, Carolina Springs, Willow Creek, the Links of Tryon on the Rolling Green Golf Club, and new this year, the Club at Brookstone. What do they all have in common? Well, A, they're all beautiful golf courses. B, they're all prestigious golf courses. And C, they're all on the 2021 Upstate Golf Card. $99 get you a round of golf at all 9 of those courses. That's over $450 worth of golf. You're getting it for $99 over a 75% discount. You're not going to find a better deal anywhere in the Upstate. Spring is here. It's time to get out and play a little golf, man. It's beautiful outside. So go to upstategolfcard.com, upstategolfcard.com. Pick one up for you, your friends, your family. Give yourself an excuse to get out on the course over the spring and enjoy the weather. It's the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
I'm a little disappointed in Rob because the buildup was like, it made me think that Mark actually brought it, and then hearing the actual clip, he did not. So there's that. So it's like when you get hyped up and you're ready to respond to something, and then it's like that's it.
You wanted more?
No, I thought that. Well, I suppose he's capable of bringing it, but he absolutely did not with that. That's it's a shame, really.
No, I just, like I said, I don't think that it was necessarily something that was, I don't think it was something that was entirely all that necessary to go off the deep end on Twitter about. You know what I mean? Like, and on top of that, at least on my feed, and I've kind of curated it that way. 95% of what I say and do on Twitter is just me being sarcastic as hell. All right. That's just what I do. 90% of it is just sarcasm, and what I would like to think qualifies as wit. 10% of it is serious. Like 10% on my most serious days, 10% of it is serious. And the majority of folks who follow me on Twitter that are from South Carolina, right? I've got almost 2,500 Twitter followers, I think. The majority of them who follow me on Twitter from South Carolina, they only know me because of me on the radio, right? And that's true of all the friends I've met here. They know me because of who I am on the radio, with just a couple of exceptions. So they're already listening. So putting a very serious take on it out on Twitter for me, I don't know, man. Like, it was just going to lead to a Twitter thread of Clemson fans cracking on Carolina fans and Carolina fans having no comeback. Whereas I can put it on the show, clip the audio out, put that up on Twitter, and let people listen to what I have to say.
Here's what it comes down to. We've dropped a lot of smack on that show for men, and they're feeling it. And they don't really know what to do about it. And the question is, should we back off? Even if we should, we're probably not gonna. So, I mean, it's your fault for calling yourself the show for men. That means you should have broad shoulders and be able to handle it. At least I think so. Come back.
Satisfies.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Wrapping up hour number 1 of the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. Finish up that conversation we were having on the way out the door there. Look, I know how my Twitter feed works. I've got something like 24-ish hundred followers on Twitter. All right. I'm no big time. I got like 2,400 followers. The majority of people from South Carolina who follow me, who care about Bob Caslin and U of SC, the majority of those people know me and follow me because of the radio show. They've already heard what I have to say. To me, what we have to say in an official capacity is best brought on the air and then expanded upon on Twitter. I will say, if Mark wanted to know what I had to say about Bob Caslin and wanted to know if I was weak on Caslin, then going back and listening to the show would have been a better start, right? You'd have been better served listening to what I had to say on the air than what I had to say on Twitter about it. But that's just my opinion. That's just my 2 cents worth. So, I'll go back and I'll find the clip. I'll see if I can dig up the clip of where we talked about it. Bring it up, put it on Twitter, and hopefully that'll be enough. Hopefully that'll do it. That's it.
Don't do his work for him.
I mean, I don't mind, because then I get to flex a little bit. And your boy likes to flex a little bit. All right, hour 1 in the books. Coming up in hour number 2, I'll give you, after the schedule release, my favorite teams to bet the total win under over on. That's coming up in the next hour of the show. We'll set up your NBA playoffs. Charlotte Hornets have a chance to make it to the 8 seed instead of the 9, and to me, it's drastically important. I'll tell you why and what they can do to get there. Coming up in a minute. Plus, Urban Meyer discussed in public Tim Tebow for the first time. We'll hear what Herb had to say and whether he's made a decision yet. All that in the next hour. Rob Lonzo and you. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate.
1 in the books on a Friday, baby. Check in on the text line. ESPN, you guys should just apologize to Mark and carry on. He's right. Y'all were just slack. At ESPN, Mark is like a Dollar Tree version of Stephen A. Smith. He wants to be Colin Cowherd so bad, but his takes are more like Colin Cowpatty. ESPN, Mark said people want to know what you guys thought, but Mark tweeted about the situation more than any Gamecock fan I know. Why does Mark care so much? Does he realize Bob Caslin wasn't the head coach or athletic director? Rob Antiquing explains grandma's pictures on his wall.
That was the best text you read.
That was the best text so far.
Twitter. Does this mean we have to ask the show for men Mark Ryan for permission to talk about wrestling? No.
No.
Filtered sports talk, manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Out of the gates for hour number 2 comes Rob Brown and Lonzo on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. What up, South Carolina? Let's get this bad boy going. What do you say? Check on the Ingles Market text line at 71307, 71307. At ESPN, Rob going antiquing explains grandma's pictures on his wall. End quote. All right, first off.
He got a deal. I mean, that's why when you're good with antiquing, that's what you do.
I really did. I actually got these off of Facebook Marketplace. Those of y'all who know me, I'm from Destin, and we're known for our beaches. So I got some beach scenes to give me. Look, South Carolina's my home. The Upstate's my home, but I'll always be a beach kid at heart. So I got some grandma pictures to hang on my wall. What do you want? Check out the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. You can see what we are talking about. Also, on the Ingles Market text line, 71307, start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air at ESPN. Why does Mark care so much? Does he realize Bob Caslin wasn't the head coach or athletic director? End quote. I mean, listen, here's where we fell on it, Zoe, and correct me if I misspeak here. I think we both kind of fell on the perspective of, look, I do think there is a bit of a problem. I think that this situation, based on what happened, does illustrate that to some degree, South Carolina's athletic positions and maybe administrative positions in a whole are administered as much on politics as they are on merits. All right. We know the governor put Bob Caslin in that position. That's not a secret around South Carolina. We know that was McMaster's choice to get that spot. We know that the faculty and administration of South Carolina and the students did not like the pick and were overruled to get him into that place. The one place that I think that came into view that I had an issue with, and we talked about this on the show, when Frank Martin at the end of this year, Gamecock fans were ready to move on. They're ready to make a shift at the head coaching position on the basketball team. And Frank Martin basically got a vote of confidence, and a story came out that there were some local representatives from Columbia that basically went to the university and said, we want him to keep his job, and hey, don't forget who votes on funding for your school when the need arises. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so Frank Martin got his job. But in what I think was at least an attempt at a mea culpa between the school and the fans, he also got an extension that said, here's the deal. After this upcoming season, your buyout is cut in half. And after that season, if you're still around, your buyout goes away entirely for the remainder of your contract. So they built an escape clause into the new contract for Frank Martin. I think that was an attempt at a mea culpa between the school and the fans who wanted him gone. On Monday, it was either Monday or Tuesday, but earlier this week, after the kerfuffle, Bob Caslin turned in his first letter of resignation, and the Board of Trustees rejected it. I said, I believe that was a save-face move, right? I believe that was a move for Caslin to be able to to attempt to come out of this in a bit better light. Hey, I tried to resign over my mistake. The Board of Trustees said no. What do you want? But then there was an outlash. There was an outcry. Hey, not good enough for us. You embarrassed us. You gave Clemson ammunition. I went to the baseball game on Tuesday night down at Clemson between South Carolina and Clemson. And the Clemson PA was introducing batters by saying, Stepping to the plate now, the second baseman for the University of California, number 2. And it's like, oh man, it's never going away. It's never going away. They leaned into it. And the Carolina fans said, not good enough. Not good enough. There was a backlash, and after that backlash, there was no choice but to accept Caslen's second letter of resignation. I think it illustrated some problems at South Carolina where politics become more powerful than success on the field, right? I think it's more about nepotism than it is success for the university. And that is a recipe for absolute disaster. That is the case. But Bob Caslen does not unilaterally make those decisions. Bob Caslen, the president of the university, does not unilaterally decide who gets what contract and what position, where, and when based on a whim. So it's not like the end-all, be-all for me. It's not like the end-all, be-all for me. On the text line, ESPN, Mark said people wanted to know what you guys thought, but Mark tweeted about the situation more than any Gamecock fan I know. Now, I'll tell you what Mark's defense is going to be for that. Mark's defense for that is going to be, of course, South Carolina fans didn't tweet about it because South Carolina fans were embarrassed and wanted to let the situation go away. The less you talk about something, the better the chances that that situation resolves itself and goes away. And he would be correct in that. He would be correct in that. If South Carolina fans were to say nothing about it, eventually it would go away, except for it won't. All right? It won't. And I know that.
But it's an underneath the dig at fandom and trying to point out that certain people's fandoms aren't as strong as others. And, that's why it was coming at me too for that. For obviously I'm not a real fan because I'm not outraged. And there are times where you can be like, man, that sucks. I'm glad they got rid of him and not be outraged. And that's okay.
Sure.
Outrage doesn't need to be the answer for everything that goes wrong.
I think we talked about it from the perspective of what does this say about the university and the athletics department. Zoe and I both gave you our thoughts. I think it speaks to the fact that there is at least some level of nepotism involved in the way that South Carolina hands out jobs, right? Who you know is more important than what you accomplish. And again, just like we've had the discussion about Tim Tebow, there is some element to that in a lot of schools. If Dabo's let's talk about Clemson for a second. Lonzo, if Dabo Swinney wasn't Dabo Swinney, if Dabo Swinney wasn't the head coach that he has turned out to be, and he got that job as an unheralded assistant at Clemson, we would have had the same discussion. Oh, you passed up on so many qualified coaches with experience to hire this assistant.
That discussion did happen.
Oh,
and
sure.
people were upset about Tommy Bowden being gone. There was a lot of why are they letting this guy? And even early on in his tenure, when they weren't doing what people thought they should be able to do, they were wanting him gone. Yeah. So I mean that's just what fans do. But really it comes down to exactly what you said. Caslen is not the coach of the football team. He's not the coach of the baseball team. He's not the coach of any team. So the outrage, people were upset and he's gone. I mean, how long are we going to harp on the fact that this guy did something that he shouldn't have done and now he's gone? I mean, do you carry this on for another week? Do you carry this on for years? Clemson fans should use it as long as they possibly can. He gave them fuel, and you cannot blame them. They need to do that. They absolutely need to, because if the shoe's on the other foot, they're going to use it. The California thing is going to be run into the ground, and I respect it, and it will reach a point of annoyance eventually. But, yeah, they've got to do that. You have to do that. But as far as the story itself, it's over with. It's over.
Here's where I'll tell you outrage will be sparked for me. If the process that South Carolina, quote unquote, went through to put Bob Caslen in that position takes place again, then I'll have a problem. If another candidate that the faculty, the administration, the alumni, and the students of South Carolina are almost consensus against gets railroaded through by politicians again, then I will have a major problem. Then you will get outrage out of me. Bob Caslin made 2 mistakes. Well, he made a lot of mistakes, but he made 2. All right? He said the wrong university, and granted, he's the president, right? I can tell you in all honesty, for the sake of transparency and clarity, that there have been a time or 3 in my career where I have read USC when talking about the Gamecocks and then thought the Trojans. It's happened. It happens to a lot of us that aren't South Carolina fans. Now, you expect better out of your president, right? You expect better, just like you'd expect better out of the fans. If I was at a football stadium and I saw a guy in a South Carolina shirt accidentally say California, he would get ribbed forever. You expect better out of someone connected, but it's a mistake. The plagiarism to me was the bigger issue, because it showed me in what is a major responsibility of the president, right? The end of the day, his charge is to make that university as good as he can for the students that are there. And it showed me that he did not put the same weight onto the commencement speech that you would want and expect out of your university president. But my question is, for a sports talk audience, how big of a deal is that? Really, for a sports talk audience, for an audience that tweets me #StickToSports on a daily basis, how big is that? Now, I'll tell you this. If I was hosting a show over on the other station we have in the building, over on the station that speaks predominantly to news and politics, if I was over on that station, Zoe, I probably would have done multiple segments on this. I probably would have done multiple segments about how nepotism seems to be a problem in South Carolina, and if they railroad through another university president who doesn't have approval from the folks who care about the university, then that means that the university has bigger problems, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, while Zoe and I are not against going off sports for a topic here and there, if you've noticed on this show, Lonzo and I do at most 2 to 3 segments, at most 2 to 3 segments a day that are completely off sports. Now, we'll do sports segments and then kind of segue them into other stuff, but at most 2 to 3 segments a day that aren't laser focused on sports. And this one, to me, while it touched South Carolina athletics, it did not dictate it. So what would be the point? Zoe and I did attack this story, and I would even go so far as to say we took it a step further into extrapolating it to South Carolina basketball and extrapolating into the Frank Martin contract and extension and other sports angles that I'm going to say, Lonzo, as somebody who listens to a lot of sports radio around the upstate, I didn't hear any other shows take it to the level that we took it. Now, pardon me while I strain my muscle patting myself on the back here, but I didn't hear anybody else taking it. I heard, wow, how embarrassing. But I didn't hear anybody else get into, hey, could we take this and stretch it out to maybe explain the Frank Martin situation? And maybe talk a little bit about, is this the MO of South Carolina? I didn't hear anybody else doing that. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm saying I didn't hear it. And the last thing I say before I turn it back over to Lonzo for some concluding thoughts on the topic. I think Mark made a mistake that I think a lot of listeners make. And it's something that has happened in my whole career. And the longer you do this or pay attention to it, the more you'll hear it. Listeners tend to do this thing where they listen to chunks of a show or they read chunks of what's written, and they think the only thing the host talked about over 3 hours are the 2 or 3 segments that I heard, right? Lonzo and I have been radio for a long time. We get told by corporate often that time spent listening. Here, I won't even say it. I'll let Zoe answer. Zoe, when we get emails from corporate that talk to us about TSL, time spent listening, how long does the average listener to a talk radio show, well, let's use sports because I know politics is a little longer, but on a sports talk format, how long does the average listener spend on a show every day?
Well, it depends on day part, but it's between 15 and 25 minutes.
Yes.
And a lot of it has to do with where you're on your way to.
Yep.
Not everybody has us on in their office, but they should.
They should.
They absolutely should. Not everybody has us on at home, but they should. But people generally listen to the radio when they're on their way home from work or to work or going out to lunch.
15, 25 minutes. That's the industry norm for TSL for listeners. If you listen to this show for 15 minutes and you hear a segment, and then you turn it off when you get home and go, wow, Rob didn't talk about the NBA at all today. But you listen 15, you have no idea. All right? You don't. So I think Mark checked my Twitter feed and then dictated what we did and didn't say on the air for 3 hours for an entire week. I think he made a mistake there, right? I think he made a simple mistake, with all due respect.
Or this could be a fact that maybe some people are coming at him saying he's talking about it too much. So he wants to compare the amount that we spend on it to the amount that he's spending on it to point out that he needs to make up for our lack of talking about it. And that's why he needs to talk about it more.
At ESPN, Mark said people wanted to know what you guys thought, but Mark tweeted about the situation more than any Gamecock fan I know. Listen, I am not. Let me be abundantly clear about two things right here. Number one, Mark and I have a great relationship. He and I are friends. We go at each other on the air, but that's literally why he brought me here. We are friends. We are good. I have no issue with it. This story to Mark felt like a huge story. To Mark, this felt like a story that demanded hours of airtime, because it was an embarrassment to the university and the program. And I understand that. But it didn't to me. Now, I turned it into a way that it impacted sports, and I thought that deserved some time. But it didn't feel like a huge story to me, especially after it was corrected with the resignation of Bob Caslin. Now, I will tell you in advance that if the next candidate for that office is railroaded through by the governor or state senators or any people in power who are not directly connected to the university, and they railroad through another candidate that is wildly unpopular with the USC fan base as a whole, both academic and athletic, then you will get hours of airtime out of me for it. Then it will become a huge story. But Caslin made a mistake. He has paid the repercussions. We have analyzed how this may be a negative thing for the athletics department with no way to prove it. It's speculation at its finest. And that's where that story is for me. All right. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us 71307 on the Ingles Market text line. Your thoughts are welcome. When we come back, Urban Meyer has spoken out for the first time about Tim Tebow. What does Herb have to say in the decision-making process the Jags are going through, and is he right about it? That's next on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown.
Yep, you weren't wrong, Keegan. You weren't wrong at all. I'm going to turn my AC on because I am sweating it up, boys. BRB. And I'll answer your question when I come back, Keegan. All right. Can't you hear me knocking? Did you just play a song that sounded like a spinoff of that Rolling Stones song, Zoe, or am I losing my mind? Did it just pop into my head for no reason?
It is a possibility because some of the songs do have similarities. Something I put in today had an AC/DC feel to it. I don't know if I played it yet.
You played one yesterday that was a direct rip of Metallica. I can't remember what Metallica song it was, but it was like the same guitar riff, but they put little breaks, like little chunks into the riff to break it up so it wasn't a spot on.
Well, according to our company, these are all podcast ready, which makes them fair game. So even if it is a ripoff, and, it doesn't necessarily have to be a ripoff. If it has a feel and maybe the drum beats sound the same or something, that kind of makes you like the song. And sometimes you don't know why. But you can actually go into the service and type in a certain band and it will give you songs that are similar to it. I didn't do that, but I am up to 59 beds and I have a few more to add from today. And then I'm going to continue to add
59.
Yeah. Now that I have a little more time, hopefully management isn't listening, I can get some more music in there. The air people were in the building yesterday, and they came into the office to talk to me about, the fact that it feels like a milk cooler in there. And dude was just looking at everything in the office instead of looking at me. I always find that funny. And then you think, don't judge me. But he's not judging. He's like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. You could tell that they thought it was cool. It's still not entirely fixed, but it's better than it was. Apparently there's a dampener in the vent, and the dampener in our office was wide open, which is why suddenly it felt like I was in the Arctic. So weird. It's like all the seasons are represented in the building. They go from one room, it's spring, one room, it's winter, and then here it's slightly summer. So maybe someday you'll get to come and experience it again yourself. "30 seconds. Hope we're done talking about Mark Ryan stuff.
We are.
And if you want Mark's rebuttal, it will last for 3.5 hours.
Heard sports talk brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew, quick!
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Urban Meyer has spoken out about the decision to let Tim Tebow work out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Herb joined Chris Collinsworth on his podcast and discussed how this whole thing came about, how it was they reached the decision to let him try out. Here is what Herb had to say about Tim Tebow.
Yeah, we have not signed Tim. There's a thought going around. He was in the best shape of his life, asked to see if he could work out with a couple of our coaches. I wasn't even there. And they came back to me and said, wow, this guy's in incredible shape. And I said, then I went another time and watched him try him out. And they said, go work on these things. He comes back later. They try him out again. I'm not there. They come in and they said, wow, this guy's ball skills. He's a great athlete. He looks like he's 18 years old, not 20, whatever he is, 33. And I said, guys, you don't understand now. This guy is, he's the most competitive maniac you're ever going to talk to. And let's give it a shot. And I have not decided if we're going to do that or not yet. I'm getting close. I got to make a decision here pretty soon.
So there's what, courtesy of Pro Football Focus and the Chris Collinsworth show, there's what Herb had to say about the decision to work out Tim Tebow. And I will say first and foremost, Lonzo, two things. Number one, I am 0% surprised that Tim Tebow has been basically dictating sports talk shows for the past week now. Unsurprised by that at all. He did the same thing when he was an average NFL quarterback. And for the record, that is not a criticism of Tim Tebow in the least. It's not on Tim Tebow. Number two, the fact that Tebow showed up, and I got a hard time believing he's in the best shape of his life. He's 33 years old, all right? He's 33. He ain't 25. He's not in the best shape of his life. I think that's the thing that Herb has to say. But it does not surprise me that Tim Tebow showed up in great shape, wanting to be competitive, wanting to learn. I will tell you that the guy is, as Herb called him, a competitive maniac. I have no issue with that. I'm 0% surprised he showed up in shape and ready to roll. The only thing I'm saying, though, is in great shape does not mean you're ready to be a great football player. And I have another story I'm going to connect to that coming up here in just a second. But in great shape does not mean you are a great tight end or a great football player or anything like that. All of that being said, the reason that Herb gave Tebow a workout was because they're buddies and he asked for it. And while I understand, and I've gone back and forth on this a lot, Lonzo, while I understand that there are a lot of players who are frustrated that Tebow's getting a shot because there's a bunch of players who are, there's one player that's not going to get a shot because Tebow has gotten his and is going to be on the preseason roster. I assume they are going to give him a shot at least during the OTA phase of Jags camp. It's nepotism. He got the gig and the opportunity because he's buddies with Herb. I understand all that. If Tebow shows up and makes the team better by being there, then I'm not really worried about what Rob Parker or Booger McFarland or anybody else had to say about it. Look, Tim Tebow, if he can make the team better, ought to get a roster spot. And that's true of just about anybody who hasn't committed heinous crimes away from the football field. I guess what I'm saying ultimately here, Zoe, is I'm unsurprised that Tim Tebow has basically dictated a lot of segments of sports radio over the past week. I hate to say this, but Mark Ryan is right on one point. I don't understand the outrage towards Tim Tebow for taking advantage of an opportunity that has been given to him. I will say this. If Tebow shows up and he sucks and he still gets a roster spot and he's got a lot to learn. He's never played the spot. He's about to be thrown into the highest level of competition at it. He's got a lot to learn. But if he makes the team better, I don't get why people a week later are still mad about this.
Because they're not really mad about it. It's faux outrage. It's not real. It's a slow news day for the major sports outlets. They need to talk about this. Or they secretly have a crusade to make sure that Tim Tebow doesn't make the team by causing the outrage known all over the place. So it gets back to Urban Meyer, and the owner of Jacksonville, Tony Khan, decides, you know what? I can't take this controversy. You cannot sign him. That was sarcastic because we know that Tony Khan owns something else that, that they deal in that sort of thing. So I still think it's funny. I said this on the air a couple of days ago. He hasn't been signed yet. And all this outrage over a guy who's been cut from teams before, including the Patriots, if I recall. So there's no guarantee that he's signed. Urban Meyer, whether he's telling the truth or not, I don't know. He's not saying that he's going to sign him. He's not saying that he's not going to sign him. He's going to get out on the field and probably make the decision then, more than likely. If he makes the team, great. If he doesn't, then all these people were saying that he shouldn't been given a shot will be vindicated, and they will blow their own horn and celebrate the fact that Tim Tebow didn't make a team. Whatever.
Wow, that sounded almost exasperated.
I don't get the outrage. I really, really don't. And I don't believe half these people are really that concerned about an older guy trying to make a team, and he's probably not going to make the team.
Look, I think a lot of the chunk of what is misconstrued as, oh, you just don't like Tim Tebow, is holdover from the time in his career where Tim Tebow was a very mediocre NFL player, yet was still considered a poster boy for the league. There were better players in lesser positions than Tim Tebow who didn't get the face time that he did, and people got tired of it. Now, there's another story that I wanted to compare this to. Herb says, oh, he showed up in the best shape of his life. He's in great shape at 33, best shape of his life, which, again, I kind of doubt. But, hey, let's take Herb at his word. Being in the best shape of your life does not mean that you are ready to be great at a particular sport or position. DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Seattle Seahawks. We all remember last year, Zoe, that rundown that DK had. There was an interception. The defensive hack had about a 15-yard head start on DK, and DK Metcalf ran him down. He was considered the fastest dude in the league because of that rundown. Well, DK Metcalf, Lonzo, lined up earlier this week at the Team USA Track and Field Golden Games and Distance Open in Walnut, California, alongside some of the best sprinters in the country who were hoping, or are hoping still, for an invitation to the Olympics. DK Metcalf showed up to run the 100-meter dash, right? That is the race that is considered the race for the fastest man in the world title. The winner of the 100-meter dash at the Olympics is considered the fastest man in the world. Well, DK, who is in the best shape of his life, who is an absolute monster, and who was considered one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player in the NFL after what he did last season, lined up against 8 other sprinters in a 9-man sprint, 8 other sprinters to run the 100-meter dash. Lonzo, the fastest NFL player in the game, lined up against 8 other sprinters, 9 people in the heat. Take a stab. What position did DK Metcalf finish in that Olympic qualifying heat?
Well, if we wait 5 more seconds, I'll be able to tell.
Don't cheat. Just guess.
He was last.
He got smoked. He ran a 10.37, which, don't get me wrong.
By the way, he did not get smoked. I mean, he was right there with the last guy. But the fact that he was able to compete with them, I mean, I think he probably did better than most NFL players could do.
Oh, absolutely. Again, he's the fastest guy in the league.
You kind of downplaying it like he was a snail or something.
Then let me clarify, because maybe I miscommunicated here, which is not unusual for me. Ask every woman I've ever dated. DK Metcalf is the fastest guy in the league. DK Metcalf shows up. DK Metcalf is in great shape. He's an incredibly quick dude. He can sprint, no doubt about all that. And he came in last in his heat with a 10.37. No, you're right. In sprinting terms, he didn't get smoked. He
runs too stiff, and he came out of the break. Not the break, but when you come up from being down, he came up way too stiff, and the wind resistance kind of hit him a little bit. Took some tense off. I think he could compete if he was training to do that. I think he's fast enough.
I agree with you. If DK Metcalf was to get training as a sprinter, right? If he got training as a sprinter, DK Metcalf might very well be able to compete for an Olympic Games position. I don't disagree with that. But the comparison I'm drawing to Tebow is this. He would need a lot of training to get there, and not training that would have him ready in 3 months for Team USA Olympics, right? Tim Tebow is in great shape. The dude's cut. I've met him. The dude is freaking shredded, all right? He's in great shape, and compared to most American males, he's in the top 1 percentile of fitness. but that does not make you ready to perform a particular specific task at the highest level in just a couple of weeks. He might be in great shape, but tight end's a tough position to play. I played it in high school. Obviously not even close to the NFL level, but it is not, hey, go out there, run short routes, catch the ball, get tackled, right? You are talking about a position where there is a massive difference in, let's just say, running an inside slant route, right? A tight end dump or an inside slant. If you run an inside slant route and you cut the route off too early, you won't be in the right zone. If you cut the route off too late, you might be in the right zone and catch the ball, but the backside safety has an opportunity to plant his shoulder into your ribs and end your day. It is a very precise way that you have to break off that route in order to avoid taking yourself out of an open zone and prevent yourself from being murdered on the field by an angry backside safety. If you are blocking as a tight end, Tim Tebow is going to have to get proficient at blocking 6'5", 270-pound defensive ends who run 4.40s, 4.40s.
That
you don't
was
just
going to
learn that form overnight.
That was going to be my question for you. All right, let's say Tim Tebow makes the team and never catches a pass, but his blocking is so phenomenal that he stays in and he blocks all the time and no one gets past him. Was it successful?
Yes. How much would you bet that he's capable of learning how to do that? Because he's never done it before in 4 months. I'm not betting on him. And maybe, hey man, Tim Tebow's whole career is about, oh, he'll never do this, and then he does it. He'll never make a major league team, and then he goes and plays AAA ball and is pretty good at it. He'll never play quarterback in the NFL, and he does that. Tim Tebow's career, I hate the narrative, but his career has been going out there and proving people that he can do things that people have said, I'm not going to bet he can do it.
And see, that makes me a fan of him as someone who's heard a lot of times, well, you'll never be able to do that. And then you do it and it's like, yeah, see, you were wrong. And I think that's a great story. And all the hatred, oh, he's going to take a spot, all this kind of stuff, it will all work itself out. If he's good, those people will shut up and disappear. If he's bad, he won't make the team.
Here's the question
we'll see.
I have for you, Zoe. Here's a question I have for you. We're late for the break. If you're the GM of the Jags, and you have two players sitting right, and you can only bring one of them to work out at tight end for the Jags in the OTAs. One of them was a proficient, if not five-star tight end, who's shown you he can catch a pass if he's not prolific after the run, but he can block. And on the other hand, you got Tim Tebow, a guy who works hard and is in great shape, but has never shown you that he can catch a pass and has never shown you he can block. You can bring one of them into the OTAs. Which one are you bringing?
See, the OTA question's unfair. Now, if it was training camp and it was the end of training camp and you're having to pick between the two, you take the better player. But as far as OTAs, there's not a limit. You can
bring so many guys in OTAs. It's not unlimited. You can't have a billion people in there.
Yeah, but I think there's a bigger amount. It's like because it's before the cut down, isn't it?
Yeah. It's well, I mean, you can have more in OTAs and rookie camps and all that. I mean, he wouldn't be eligible for rookie camp, but he'd be eligible for OTAs.
Well, you just don't bring one of the linemen in because who needs those anyway?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is former offensive lineman Lonzo saying that.
And that was sarcasm.
Disrespecting offensive linemen openly on the air.
That was sarcasm.
I'm shocked and appalled, Lonzo.
Yeah, quick offensive break. Guard in college too. What can you do?
Can't believe Lonzo would disparage the Hogs, man. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate. From the Ingalls Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
Are you shopping for
Houston authorities, Lonzo, are claiming that the tiger from last weekend's misadventure in that neighborhood, the tiger is still not been found by authorities, and they suspect that as many as 12 people are rotating possession and switching off possession of the tiger in order to keep the tiger from being located and sent to a sanctuary. The case of the missing tiger in Houston grows.
Every time I think of this story, I think of someone knocking on the door and Mike Tyson answering the door while the tiger's growling in the background and going, "There's no tiger here."
Is that a tiger?
They must either really love that tiger or they're getting paid a great deal of money to help rotate the tiger.
I have a question for those of you on the stream and for you, Lonzo. Are you more like, and it's a subjective, you're not going to offend me with the answer. Are you more likely to listen to a radio show about sports where the premise is, hey, we are lighthearted and have fun, or hey, we rage about sports here? Which one of those is more likely to compel you to listen?
I think it really comes down to where you are as a person emotionally. And I, of course, am going to go with the fun because I've been a part of both. And I like the fun. The fun is much better. The fun helps you have a better day. The rage just fuels whatever you're already feeling. And that can't make you feel better afterwards.
So here's why I asked that question. I'm hanging out on Twitter during the breaks, as I am wont to do. Hanging around the breaks on Twitter, and I come across this promo for a new sports show that is starting up. It's called Sports Rage with Gabe Morency. And Gabe right there is like pointing with the angry face into the camera, brother. Like he looks like he's about to cut a promo.
Does he presently work on one of our stations? I'm curious.
I don't know is the answer. It's on Sports Grid Radio. So it's on Sirius. All right. So he's on Sirius.
Okay. All right.
And I would say this even if he was on one of our stations, right?
No, by the way, I have no problem with, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because the way the logo is made and stuff it made me think that maybe it was one of ours.
Yeah. So, and I did the same thing because it looks very similar to ours, right? But here's the thing. That promo ad right there, for me personally, again, it's subjective, but for me personally, that promo ad doesn't like inspire me to listen, right? Like you're asking me to get online from 9 to midnight or midnight to 3 or whatever it is and listen to a guy who's angry all the time.
Yeah, it looks like the death metal of sports, and I'm just not into death metal.
And don't get me wrong, I am. There are times when I am angry and I put on some some Godsmack or put on some some metal, some Anthrax, whatever. There's time and place. But like, I don't know, man. When I talk about sports, I don't immediately think rage as my go-to emotion. I mean, it happens sometimes, but to base an entire show around rage, it doesn't do anything for me.
And what if you come to work and you're just not feeling ragey? Then what do? You've just killed the entire premise for your show.
Hey guys, welcome to Sports Rage. I'm your host, Rob Brown. And today I am very angry. And here's what I'm angry about. I have a major problem that we need to discuss here on the show. Like, you have basically built yourself, and I don't know if this is hilariously hypocritical coming from me, but you've basically built yourself into a corner where you have to yell for 3 hours a day.
Dispensing real, unfiltered sports talk every weekday.
Obviously very short.
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
A couple of texts on the Ingles Market text line, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air at ESPN. If you're Tim Tebow and don't make it, you retire from sports forever, right? I mean, I would. I'd be done, right? This has got to be the last hurrah, the last stand.
Well, unless as far as a player, yes, but he should still be on like the SEC network and stuff like that because he's really good at that.
Yeah, I would absolutely hire him to come be a commentator. Hey, Tim, if you're listening right now, and I know you are, if you would like to join my show as my co-host, right? You're not taking over my show. If you would like to join the Rob Brown Show as my co-host, then you are more than welcome to. The invite's extended. I feel like we can find some money in the budget to hire Tim Tebow. All right. At ESPN, I agree with Zoe. This is all fake hate to Tebow, but I do have to say, if this was, say, Jamarcus Russell, do you think this would be such a hot topic? I doubt it, Big D. Again, my thought, and it's subjective, but my thought here is this is not people hate Tim Tebow. This is Tim Tebow keeps getting another chance despite being average to better than average repeatedly. That's
Rob,
where they
can you not say that some of it could be that people hate? There are some people out there who hate Tim Tebow, because it's kind of a generalization saying that it's not that, because there are some people out there who despise this guy and they don't know why.
Yes, I am sure that there are some people that just dislike Tim Tebow as a person. Sure, I'm sure that there are. What I don't think is fair, though, is to label, for instance, me as one of those people when I say I don't love the move. It's because you hate Tim Tebow. No, it's not.
If vitriol were a cologne, you'd be saturated in it right now.
Like I said, and I'm almost humble bragging with this, I've met the dude. I've hung out with the dude. I've had dinner with the dude. I like him. Like I said, he and I probably wouldn't be friends in real life. Like if we went to the same school, we wouldn't be buddies. But he's a nice enough guy, and I could have a conversation with him. I don't dislike him, right? My whole thing is he was a mediocre quarterback. He was selfish when he was asked to switch positions, and he said no. He put himself above the teams he was on, and he got chance after chance after chance. Why are we doing it again when he's 33? That's my only issue, which is not Tebow hate. I would say the same thing about any other quarterback. All right, I'm done with Tim Tebow talk for there. That's enough. Let's take a break. When we come back here in a minute, the Hornets have an opportunity to be the 8th seed, and to me, very important that they do so. I'll tell you why and what they need to do next on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
I hope you saw my message. Prisma.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
Prisma Health, the official healthcare providers of both the Clemson Tigers and the Gamecocks of South Carolina, and they want to be the official healthcare provider for you and your family as well. One of the things that I have loved since I moved here, when I started looking around for doctors and who I would need to see if I was in a spot, I got told, you got to go see Prisma because they streamline everything. They make everything easy and convenient for you. And that was an exactly correct claim. I go to prismahealth.org whenever I have a healthcare concern that I need to be looked after for. And I've had a couple since I got here. I go to prismahealth.org. Why? Because I was able to use that website to find the doctors that I want to see, to find a time and place that was convenient and easy for me. When I am busy and I can't get out of the house for a while, I can go on a virtual visit. And for any doctor that I interact with, they and I can use the My Chart feature, and all of my healthcare information is there, streamlined and efficiently organized so that there's no wasted time trying to dig through records and find out exactly what happened when and why. You can get the exact same treatment. Go to prismahealth.org, prismahealth.org, to find out how Prisma can be the official healthcare provider of not just the Gamecocks and the Tigers, but of you and your family as well. Go to prismahealth.org. It's Prisma Health right here in the Upstate. Which would you rather listen to, Sports Rage Radio or NPR style sports? 100% depends on the host, Keegan. At 100%. Because listen, full admittance here. I love NPR. I love NPR. Science Friday with Ira Glass, one of my favorite shows of all time. I love sports. I love NPR as a whole. It's a great organization and it deserves more funding. Shake your head and strain your neck, Lonzo. NPR is a phenomenal organization. But I can tell you, here's the thing. An entertaining host can be entertaining speaking like this, but still weave together a compelling story, as NPR hosts are wont to do. Or can talk like this and have no entertainment value at all, in which case I'm out. And then you can have Yell Host. And Yell Host can be entertaining and give you I can't do that more. But you can have Yelly Host who yell and scream and entertain you and weave together true good stories. Or you can have Rage Hosts that have no point and have no direction and are just not that entertaining. It's not so much about the style as I maybe made it out to be. It's not so much about the style so much as the content. That being said, with a name like Sports Rage, Alonzo, you are basically telling the listener before they even give you a shot to see if you're entertaining, you're basically telling the listener, we are going to be angry about things for 3 hours. And as somebody who does his best not to ever be angry about anything to a fault, I'm not super compelled to listen to somebody who sets up his discussion as anger and rage for 3 hours.
Unless the name is clickbait.
Yeah. Welcome to Sports Rage.
Yeah.
My name is Munson.
You go to it, you expecting this yelling, screaming, and then there's this nice, calm guy.
Coming up next on the show, we talk about the resignation of the president of the University of South Carolina, Bob Caslin, and what this might mean for the University of South Carolina basketball team and head coach Frank Martin moving on. That's coming up next, right here on Sports NPR. I got to say, I got a pretty good NPR voice, Lonzo.
I'm going to take your word for it. I've heard bits and pieces of NPR, but, I don't want to go to sleep. So, there's that.
I love NPR.
Drooling on the console is frowned upon and could cause, short circuiting.
Oh, man. This American Life is a great one. See, This American Life is
more than the
Fridays,
scores, the ups
ever.
and downs, the ins and outs. Real, unfiltered sports talk. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show wrapping up our numero dos right here on ESPN Upstate. Rob Alonzo with you. Busy hour coming up in hour number 3, final hour of the week. Coming up, we are going to break down the Greenville Triumph matchup this Sunday. They take on Union Omaha at Legacy Early College. Stadium is going to be rocking as ESPN2 will be carrying that match live around the country. I will be there. Full colors of flying. Absolutely cannot wait to be a part of that experience. So we'll talk a little bit about the game and what that means. I think it has great meaning for the folks of the Upstate to have a national broadcast on the Deuce. I think it's got a real opportunity to help this community grow even more than it already has. So we're going to break that down. I was going to stick the NBA talk here, but unfortunately, obviously, we have a very short segment. So I will hold that over. We'll get into that on the flip side, the top of the next hour, plus a couple of other stories we need to get into. Noah Syndergaard quickly skyrocketing up the list of my favorite MLB players. We'll talk about that, Stanley Cup playoffs, and more. Which NFL teams do I think are most likely to hit their over-under this year? All that more coming up in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate.
Just saw a tweet that Obsidian Entertainment is hiring. I wonder how much voice talent makes for. Haven't you always wanted to voice a game? I think that would be so cool.
You know, I've wanted to try voice acting before. Like, I feel like I could get away with it. I feel like I could do it. I did in college, Lonzo, as a project for one of my radio classes. I did voice a audiobook, including acting out scenes. Like when characters were speaking, I actually acted them out, and I got like a B plus on it, I think.
It's not bad.
It'd be sweet to be like have your voice immortalized in a video game.
Well, Chris actually is on an anime. It's an anime called Miami Guns.
I remember he's got an IMDb page.
And
Right?
he won a contest to do that, to get on there. And his sister is actually on there too, and she's quite good. So, and having talked to, now I've interviewed some voice actors and stuff. Man, I just think that would be so cool. But if you had to pick between voicing a cartoon or a video game, which one would you pick?
It would depend on what kind of cartoon or what kind of video game, right?
All right, let's go with superhero cartoon.
Superhero cartoon. And my voice. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. I would actually love to voice a bad guy in a superhero.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'd love to voice a villain. But I would probably go superhero cartoon. And again, I guess it also depends on the video game too, right? Like if you gave me a superhero cartoon versus superhero video game, it would also depend on the superhero. Like if you asked me, do I want to voice a new character in a brand new sports car or video game, or superhero cartoon, or do I want to play the voice of Tony Stark in a new Avengers game? Easy call. I'm going to be Stark.
Oh, true. And see, I would rather be in any RPG, something that I believe that's going to, people are going to play it for years to come. So then your voice is always going to be on there. It would be awesome. Maybe someday.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real.
Yeah. Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
Harley in the first
The
book.
Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You're you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. 844-GSP, ESPN 844-477-3776. The number, the Ingles Market text line is up there for you as well at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We will read them on the air. Be happy to address you there. And tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, and at ESPN Upstate. A couple more stories that I wanted to get to on the show here today. It is official. We talked about it yesterday, and the paperwork is set for today. Joshua v. Fury. Tyson Fury is set to take on Anthony Joshua August 14th. That date for the World Heavyweight Unification title fight in Saudi Arabia is official. The promoter for Joshua did not provide further details, said local organizers plan to build a new stadium for this fight and that the fight is a, quote, done deal. He said August is about 23 degrees at 11 p.m., but they want to create something very, very special. Last time they built a stadium for the Andy Ruiz fight in just 7 weeks, that held 18,000, and this will be a similar setup. It does blow my mind, Lonzo, that the folks in Saudi Arabia are like, new sporting event needs a new stadium. Get on it, guys. Like, wow.
Well, you don't have to scope out terrain. It's desert. Okay, let's build it over there.
Anyway, that fight's there. I've said it. I'm not going to say it again until we get closer to fight time, Zoe. But as a boxing fan who wants to see the fight game return, the boxing game return to its previous greatness, I hope the folks at the top ranks of boxing understand that this is the biggest super fight they have had in a long time. The only reason that I'm disappointed that it is in Saudi Arabia instead of the UK, where it should be with 2 fighters out of the UK, or in America, is just simply the access fight, right? You're going to have a bunch of people. And this was my big thing. Not that it's the same comparison, but like when they put the crown jewel events that WWE runs in Saudi Arabia, you end up with a crowd that's not invested. They're there because it's a status thing I'm sure there are plenty of boxing fans in Saudi Arabia. But the people who go to these fights, all of the oligarchy who are there, they are there as a status symbol. They are there as a social event to show that they are there. I wish this fight, Lonzo, was taking place in front of the UK, where you would have 9,000 Joshua fans and 9,000 Fury fans who were absolutely into the energy. Or you put this thing out in Vegas, where you've got the eyes of the world on it and an electric fan base. My concern about having it in Saudi Arabia, Zoe, is that you're going to have this incredible super fight, and you're going to have a set of 18,000 fans there that are just there to kind of chill and show that they've got the money to buy a ticket. And it's going to take away from what should be boxing's biggest match in recent history.
I agree with you. You know the kind of crowd you need, whether you like him or not, you need a Conor McGregor crowd. The way the Irish follow him, and they're all out in the crowd, and they're loud and they're boisterous, and you could tell who's they're behind. You need that kind of crowd for both of these guys to make the fight be what a fight should be. And it's probably going to be fairly quiet. And something else I would like to see, an undercard of names that I actually know.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Yeah. But it's possible. You got time between now and then.
I'd suspect if you're a mid-card boxer right now trying to work his way out, you have to understand that this is still a big fight. Listen, Rob Brown's paying for that fight, right? I'm putting the pay-per-view money up for that fight. I'm not putting up the pay-per-view money for Floyd v. Paul, but I'll put up the money for a super fight. And that's what I hope boxing understands, that the audience is still here and desires it. If you're an undercard fighter, I got to imagine this is still a hot ticket, right? You're working your butt off to get added to this card to be there. But like I said, that may be even more of an important spot about what I'm talking about. So if you get a boxing crowd who is there because they genuinely love boxing, they are going to get hype about the undercard and the midcard because they know that these guys are potentially the future of the sport that will step up next to carry it on. If you put it in Saudi Arabia, you're going to have a lot of people who are there for a social event who aren't going to give a damn about the number 7 ranked middleweight taking on the number 9 ranked middleweight. They're not going to care. They're there for one fight, the main event, and everything else is going to be drowned out. And let's be real, Alonzo. Sports fans react to what is happening within the crowd on television. If the crowd is super into something, you at home are going to feed off that energy, and it will make that event more special to you. And if the crowd, how many great wrestling matches have we seen where it's a great match and you and I know that, but the crowd is dead and it just leaves the whole event feeling flat? Boxing is not that far removed from that.
Well, case in point, look at the difference when UFC brought back full fans. And how that crowd was so hyped and so loud. And even though that UFC had some injuries in it, some rough injuries, especially Chris Weidman, I mean, just the crowd really made a difference. So if the boxing match is like what you were mentioning, like the crown jewel kind of crowd, it's definitely not going to be the same.
844-477-3776, the number 844-GSP-ESPN, text to 7.
Are they going to have heaters out there?
I would assume they're going to build the indoor stadium.
Okay, are they building indoor?
Well, they haven't announced it. All they've said is they are. I'm assuming, because again, 23 degrees, I got to tell you, Alonzo, if I'm doing something in 23 degrees, she better be hot, and it better be in a hot tub, is all I'm saying. All right?
Well, imagine being a boxer in a ring if it's 23 degrees outside. You're not really going to want to punch somebody because that'll hurt.
Sweatpants. Yeah, I got no interest in that, man. You ever try to catch a football in like 20, 30 degree weather?
Yes.
Sucks.
Well, not catch a football, but I've been playing in games with snow on the ground, and you can't feel your feet, and every hit hurts. Absolutely.
Yeah, I got to imagine it's going to be an indoor stadium. All right. Said I'd talk about this. Let's throw this out there. We'll spend a ton of time on it because there's a couple more stories I want to get to as well. The Charlotte Hornets have 2 games left to play to secure their playoff seeding. The Hornets lost to the Clippers last night, their third consecutive L. Good news is Miles Bridges is on track to get back to play. The Hornets are right now in 8th place in the Eastern Conference at 33-37. They are tied with the Pacers, but the Hornets do hold the tiebreaker over Indiana. Now, it is very important to me that the Hornets hold and finish in the 8th position. We know that 7, 8, 9, and 10 go into a 14 play-in tournament, but 8 is immensely more valuable than 9 or 10, and here is why. Also, real quick, I'm gonna because Joseph just pointed out, Lonzo, that you and I have just made a very American bias. Joseph Bright says, I'm sure they mean 23 degrees Celsius. That's like a comfortable 75. I take my temperature in freedom units, which we call Fahrenheit, and my brain did not immediately click that maybe they meant Celsius.
America.
Yes, everybody else in the world uses one. We use the other because freedom. You know what will be a great addition to that Agogo Rhodes fight is just having Anthony Agogo full in go. The world is better because they're on the metric system. Like I would pop for that angle so hard.
Oh, me too. That's definitely a heel move right there.
It would be one of those things where it's like you're right, but you're a jerk about it. We should go to the metric system. We absolutely should.
You know, the fact that we missed that, I'm perfectly okay with that.
All right. So the Hornets play a 1 p.m. road game tomorrow against the Knicks, and then Sunday, both games on the road. They'll be at Washington on Sunday. Washington, the other team the Hornets are holding off for the 8th seed. And the 8th seed is immensely important in this NBA play-in tournament, and here's why. The tournament format is not a true tournament format. It is a single elimination tournament. That is to say, 7 and 8 play each other, 9 and 10 play each other. The loser of the 9-10 game goes home. The winner of the 9-10 game then plays the loser of the 7-8 game. The loser goes home. If you are in the 7-8 matchup, you have 2 chances to win a game. You get 2 chances to win a game. You got chance number 1 in the 7-8 game. You win it, you move on. You lose it, you get to play the winner of the 9-10 game. You win that, you move on. If you are in the 9-10 game, you have to win 2 games. You got to win 2 games. You got to go 2 for 2. You got to win the 9-10 matchup, and then you got to best the higher seeded team that is the loser of the 7-8 game. So it's very, very important. Here's what you need to know if you're a Hornets fan headed into the final weekend of Charlotte's regular season. We do know that Bridges continues to progress towards clearance to play. Charlotte has 2 of 4 down the stretch, and a good chunk of that is because Bridges has been out. We will keep, and Gordon Hayward's out too, of course, with that right foot sprain since back on April 2nd. He will be cleared to play this weekend, or he will definitely be back for the play-in tournament. The Pacers lost to the Bucks on Thursday, which made them drop down to 9 and avoided the Hornets dropping to 9. The Pacers' final 2 games are Saturday at home against the Lakers and then Sunday on the road against the Raptors. The Wizards play at home against Cleveland on Friday. They host the Hornets Sunday afternoon. Now, the Pacers have already clinched a play-in spot. The Wizards will with either their next victory or a Chicago Bulls loss. We still are keeping an eye on what's going on with the Lakers and the Blazers as well. But the Hornets have already clinched 2 team tiebreakers over the Pacers and over the Wizards this season because they won 2 games against each of them. If the Hornets, Pacers, and Wizards all end the season with the same record, however, it gets a little more complicated. The first tiebreaker in a 3-team tie would be if any of those teams won the division, which doesn't apply here. The next tiebreaker would be head-to-head winning percentage amongst those teams. That's good news for the Hornets. They are 4-1 against both the Pacers and the Wizards. The Wiz are 3-2. The Pacers are 1-5 since they were swept 3-0 by the Wiz this season and managed to beat the Hornets only one time. So Sunday's Hornets-Wiz game becomes huge to settling play-in seedings. It's very simple, though, at the end of the day. And you guys know I'm an idiot, so I like to simplify to the best of my ability, Lonzo. If you're the Hornets and you win out, you're the 8th seed. If you lose out, things get very, very contentious. Zoe, there is nothing I like more than having an eye turned toward the playoff and knowing that my team controls its own destiny. The Hornets control their own destiny for the 8th seed, which is infinitely more valuable than the 9 or 10 seed. They can send Indiana and Washington both to the 9-10 game, and if they were to lose the 7-8 game, then they would have a second opportunity to win and go in and take on two teams that they have thoroughly mopped up during the regular season. Zoe, if you are a Charlotte Hornets fan, you had better be fingers crossed that they take care of business this weekend.
Absolutely, and I am. I'm looking to try to see how much tickets are for playoff games, just in case.
You think a little Rob Brown show roadie?
Yeah, I've never been to an NBA playoff game before, and it's a little pricey, but we'll see.
Oh, I'm sure, but also playoffs.
Yeah,
and
playoffs.
And so if they make it in, that's going to mean that their first round game, if they make it to the top, they're either going to go in. They will go in as one of the bottom two seeds, which means they would get either the 76ers or the Nets in the opening round. If they win the first game, they will get the Nets in the first round. So we might be able to go see the James, Kyrie, KD explosion live and in person.
Oh, I would love to do that. And hopefully Kyrie will, do his pouting and go sit down and cause them to lose the entire series. That would be excellent.
I got to tell you, Zoe, I don't think anything would make me ever so happy as heckling Kyrie, KD, and Harden from the bench.
Ooh. Yeah, you don't want to heckle. You don't want to heckle KD. He might start a burner account or something and come at the show.
I absolutely do. I would pay the extra money to move up to sit behind the next bench and just heckle relentlessly, man. Relentlessly. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Plenty more that we got to get underway. When we come back, Noah Syndergaard has put into words every frustration I have with Major League Baseball players, and I'm so damn happy to hear a baseball player say it. What is it? I'll tell you, he said in a classic sports radio cliche when we come back right here on ESPN Upstate.
Harley Davidson.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
So a couple of weekends ago, I had a Saturday off, nothing doing. I rang up some friends and I said, man, what do you say we get out on the back of the motorcycles and take a ride around the upstate? And they said, yeah, obviously we're going to do that. So we rode up and down the Blue Ridge. We went down to Issaquah Falls. We went and checked out the Stump House Tunnel. I got to sightsee around the upstate. And I can tell you right now, riding up and down the Blue Ridge, riding down into Georgia, riding across the beautiful interior of the state over to Charleston, or up to Charlotte, through Asheville. I've done it all. And I've done it all both in a car and I've done it all through a motorcycle. And I can tell you, there is nothing that will clear your mind. There was nothing that will put you in a better mental place than riding those roads and taking in that scenery on the back of a brand new 2021 Harley Davidson motorcycle from Harley Davidson of Greenville. I'm telling you, man, I've been riding for about 5 years now. And if there is a week that kicks my butt, that gets me stressed, I need to decompress, the best thing I've ever done is to get myself on the back of a rig, and it will be the same for you, I promise. So go see the showroom at Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson of Greenville, 30 Chrome Drive. Check out all the new 2021s with the new paint schemes, the new finishes, the new devices, or if you're looking for something pre-owned, they got you covered too. Over 150 pre-owned motorcycles in stock, now available, ready for you. And all you got to do is go see the good folks at Harley-Davidson of Greenville and let them get you set up. Again, 30 Chrome Drive, or go online, check out their website at upstateharley.com, upstateharley.com, and let them get you riding the best rides in the upstate with our friends at Harley-Davidson of Greenville.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, powered by The Score. Atlanta Braves baseball, they lose to the Blue Jays yesterday, 8-4. They get swept in the season series, losing all 6 games against the Braves. The last time that happened was when they were swept in 2008 by the Chicago Cubs. Charlie Morton got the start, giving up 3 runs on 7 hits with 2 walks in 4 2/3 innings. His exit ended a streak of Brave starters pitching at least 6 innings in 4 consecutive games, and 6 of 8. Ronald Acuna Jr. also jammed his left ankle and had to leave the game early. It's not clear if he's going to be able to play tonight. They are in Milwaukee to open up a series against the Brewers. Drew Smiley on the mound. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Heads up, high school administrators, teachers, parents, and classmates. The class of 2021 had to overcome big challenges. ESPN Upstate and Benson Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Greer are recognizing our local grads who deserve to celebrate their achievements and bright futures with Salute to Seniors 2021. Submit your nominees now at espnupstate.com. It's as easy as submitting a photo, short bio, and contact info. We're shining the light on our best and brightest. The Upstate Salute to Seniors, powered by Healthy Blue and Old South Trading Company and ESPN Upstate.
Small businesses are always looking to educate themselves on the best ways to have meaningful interactions with their customers. That's why Dell Technologies assembled an all-star lineup of podcasters to create this year's virtual conference to share advice and inspiration for small businesses. Dell Technologies is here to help safeguard your business with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro, providing relevant content for your business's success. Follow along with all episodes of the Dell Technologies Small Business Podference on the Odyssey app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.
I'm John Meacham. Welcome to Fate of Fact, Season 1. This series is about how and why fact became a casualty of war in the United States. Please listen and follow Fate of Fact.
So, Rob, I just sent you something because I was curious and looked it up and just found an article that might be kind of cool for us if it happens.
Apple Podcasts.
It's on Facebook.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
The next generation of auto detailing is here. 303 Graphene Nano Spray Coating. Simplicity meets a
in years past, when they were in Wofford, we would do the shows live over there at least once and get to go to,
a formula that sends water flying off paint wheels.
So I found several different articles saying that they're in discussions, and so hopefully they come back and that it will give us something to look forward to checking out.
For more information, head to 303radio.com.
So who would you want to interview?
Owner who's hiring, it can feel like trying to.
I was going to say other than Christian McCaffrey, obviously.
Qualified candidates for you and invites them to apply. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate.
Last time when we were there, we got Ron Rivera, and we got several of the assistant coaches. We didn't get any players last time, but still.
ZipRecruiter.com/Greeny. At ZipRecruiter.com/GREENY.
Definitely something that will work out a way to go.
South Carolina Education Lottery. The Mega Millions jackpot.
Actually, I have a backup right now, so I could go.
$30 million. Be sure to stop by your local South Carolina Education Lottery retailer and get your ticket today. See SCEducationLottery.com for jackpot odds in a store near you.
Made for upstate sports junkies.
These pathetic junkies?
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show continues on. A little bit of breaking news, Lonzo, that you just found a second ago. The Carolina Panthers are apparently back in discussions with Wofford College to have their training camp right back here in the upstate, which I'm pretty pumped about. We will keep an eye and see if those discussions lead to that happening. I would hope so. Now, I do know that there are still some potential changes coming to the training camp routine.
I know Lonzo was telling me during the break that in years past, we have broadcasted from Panthers training camp, which you would better believe we would do everything in our power to make happen again. Now, I will be curious, though, if the Panthers / the NFL will allow that to happen. But my belief would be, though, that if they're taking training camp on the road and are cool with the teams getting away from the facilities and going away from the facilities to have training camp, then that would lead me to believe that they would be open to the idea of having non-NFL personnel on site as well.
Yeah, from what I read in the article, the NFL is leaving it up to the individual teams to find places for training camp, and restrictions are being lifted all over the place here in South Carolina. And because of that, I would believe that it will probably be a normal training camp if it happens, with fans allowed in and all the atmosphere that goes with it. And that's, I hope so. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, if we can pull that off, we will absolutely broadcast live from Panthers training camp at Wofford
And
College.
if I do believe we still carry the Panthers on our sister station, so we get all the inside information on that sort of thing. So we'll know pretty quick if they decide to go over there, and then we can get that ball in motion.
Yeah, absolutely and entirely, man. I hope we can pull it off. I'd be excited to do that. Like I said, I know ESPN Upstate has done it in the past, and you better believe we would do everything in our power to do it again, to get over there to Wofford, if that is indeed where training camp is this year here in the Upstate. And like I said, I give the Panthers credit and for the attack that they have made. I do think Carolina probably does as good a job. There's a couple of teams that in the NFL that do a very good job of trying to be representative of more than just their immediate area, right? For years, I have given credit, call me a homer, that's fine, to New Orleans. One of the things that the Saints have done for years is they don't want to be the New Orleans Saints. They want to be the Gulf Coast Saints, man. You find Saints fans in Alabama, Mississippi. You find Saints fans all the way over into the east side of Texas, because the Saints market, not just in and around New Orleans and Louisiana, they try to get outside of that market. I think the Panthers, Lonzo, over the years have done a pretty good job of trying to include all of the Carolina Panthers, all of the Carolinas. I think they did the smart thing in referring to themselves as the Carolina Panthers, as opposed to Charlotte, as opposed to the North. They just went with Carolina. Yes, Charlotte was the obvious choice for big cities between the two states to put an NFL team, but it being very close to the border of North and South Carolina, the new HQ for the Panthers, if all the plans come through, will be south of Charlotte in South Carolina. So South Carolina would have a stake in the operations of the Panthers. They bring the training camp down into the upstate of South Carolina. I know when I go over to Charleston, I see Panther stuff all over the place in Charleston. They do a great job of trying to make sure that market feels included. I can tell you guys, having worked in a couple of different NFL markets and with different team personnel for different teams across those markets, Jacksonville, Dallas, New Orleans, Atlanta, now Carolina, that the two teams that I've heaped the most praise on are New Orleans and Carolina. Dallas does a little bit of the same across Texas as well, although they don't really have to work as hard to pull it off. Carolina does a great job, and if they are able to bring the Panthers down to the upstate, we had a segment, though, not but a couple of weeks ago, where I said, hey, look, are you guys in the upstate excited about the Panthers? Do you like the Panthers? Do you care about the Panthers the way you do the Gamecocks and the Tigers? And I know we're in a college football first environment here, Lonzo, but also one of the things that I know about sports is that the best way to get people involved in whatever your team or sport is to expose them to it and expose it to them. If the Panthers come down again and hold training camp at Wofford in the upstate again and make their practices open and accessible to fans here in the upstate, those fans are much more likely to buy in and to care about them. And I think we would see an increase in the amount of people who want to talk Panthers here on the show. I hope they do it. I hope it's open to fans. And I promise you, Zoe and I will do everything in our power to pull whatever strings we got to pull to do the show live from Wofford College and be able to get interviews and have Matt Rule and CMC and Sam Darnold and all the players right here on the show. Absolutely.
Well, Panther camp generally is well attended. I will tell you from being there for quite a few years, and I'm looking forward to. That's why I was excited to see that news. But I am curious as to what's going to happen when they do the full practice, especially on Fan Day, because in the past it's been Cam Newton time, and Cam Newton would come out and he would put on a show for the crowd, and is what member of the Carolina Panthers is going to be able to pick up that mantle and do something similar. I can't wait to see who that's going to be, and hopefully we're going to get a chance to see that in person.
100%. And look, as we've talked about, I don't know what the Panthers are going to be this year. I mean, I've got some thoughts. I don't know what the Panthers are going to be. You could tell me, Lonzo, that the Panthers are going to be 5-12, 6-11. You could tell me that they're going to be 12-5, 11-6. And I think you got to justify a reason to believe either one of those records. They could be in either side. So to be able to go hands-on and watch them practice and get up close and personal and get firsthand eyeballs on the team, I think would be huge. I think it'd be great. Joseph on the live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, says the Falcons do an awful job of marketing outside of Atlanta Metro, which makes no sense, given how good a job Atlanta United has done. I got to tell you, Lonzo, Atlanta United, a team that got to put the star on the crest not too long ago, I have seen, and it might be because I run in the soccer circles around town, but I like to think I run in the football circles too. I have seen more Atlanta United supporters in the upstate than I have seen Atlanta Falcons fans in the upstate. Now, I will give you this, Joe. There is one big difference, all right? The Falcons have been around for decades. Atlanta United is relatively new. And Atlanta United was out on the forefront of MLS teams opening up in the South, right? So if you lived anywhere within 300-400 miles of Atlanta, when Atlanta United became one of the first bigger teams in MLS in the South, you kind of defaulted to Atlanta United. You didn't really have any other fan, right? If you were from Greenville, South Carolina, what other MLS team would? Now, what I will be interested to see, Lonzo, is in 2022, when Charlotte FC makes its debut in MLS, right? Will Charlotte reach down? And I will tell you, they already have. When Charlotte FC was announced, so they reached out to us and they sent gift bags to all of the announcers down here, all of the broadcasters down here, that said that they would be interested in covering Charlotte. So me and Stone Man and I think Mark and all of us ended up with Charlotte FC gift bags. So I've already got a Charlotte FC shirt and a Charlotte FC scarf and a magnet and in fact, there's a Charlotte FC sticker on the top of my laptop that I'm using right now. They reached out, and I'm an Orlando City fan, man. They were the first team down in Florida. I jumped on with City, but I will have a second team in the MLS, and it will be Charlotte FC. I will be interested to see how they expand, but the point of all of this is Panthers fans ought to be proud of the effort that their NFL team puts into expanding the footprint into other areas outside of Charlotte. The Atlanta Falcons have failed to do that, Lonzo, and the Panthers have taken full advantage of that in an area that sits pretty much halfway between the two.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I haven't been around a lot of the only NFL team I've ever been around has been the Carolina Panthers. So it's one, if that's all you think that every other team does that. So it's surprising to find out that every other team doesn't do that.
Yeah, and you're spot on, but think about it, Zoe. I mean, you say the only team I've been around are the Carolina Panthers, and you're right. Charlotte's what, about an hour 45 from here? A couple hours? You are halfway.
It depends on who's driving.
Okay, fair enough. For normal people not in Zoe's car, an hour and 45 to an hour 50. Atlanta's an hour 50. You are exactly halfway between the Falcons and the Panthers. But the Panthers reach out, and they try to establish themselves here. The Falcons, I've never seen it. I don't see the Falcons. And maybe because they just want to focus on Georgia and Atlanta because it's a huge city. I don't know. But the point is, if you're a Panthers fan, you got to at least respect and appreciate that. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Quick break. We'll come back. Are the Olympics under threat
We'll revisit that topic, and then Twitter Trending Topics wraps up the week next on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
My biggest fear at Panther camp was I had said on the air for years that Ron Rivera should be fired, and there he sat across from me. And
did you address it? Did you?
No. I mean, if he would have said something to me, yeah. But if not, I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not Jim Rome. I'm not going to say, I've been saying you should be fired for the last 5 years. Why do you still have a job? No, yeah. I'm not going to do that.
See, if we get to interview Matt Rule, I will absolutely tell him, hey, man, I wasn't on board, yet you answered the bell, and see what he has to say about it. I mean, I look, as I've said many times, though, and you've said this too, and I think we're on the same page with this. You can have disagreements without being disrespectful, right? And I think that's the approach I take with Matt Rule is, hey, man, look, when your name came up as the leading candidate, I wasn't on board. The concern of not having NFL experience, not having head coaching experience outside of a college stop or two, I was a little concerned, and the fact that your offense does not tailor well to the NFL, I had concerns. But you've answered the bell. Did you feel any pressure when you showed up with people who had questions about your hiring? And I would address it, I think.
See, those are hard-hitting questions that I'd expect to come out of you. Here are some of the questions I asked Ron Rivera. Do you ever go to Cam Newton for fashion advice? Which he laughed about and thought it was hilarious. And then I also asked him how he kept the players out of Krispy Kreme, because Krispy Kreme's right down the road. And whenever they're in town, there are always pictures and videos of them, shopping or in Krispy Kreme at all hours of the night. And it's just easier for me to ask something that's not serious, because if I ask something serious, I'm going to look mean because of nerves, and it definitely will come across as arrogant, and I can't do that.
I think it's so whenever we do interviews like that, it's like we did with Dallas the other day, right? I think there's a balance to be found between asking questions that fans have, like genuine questions that fans have about sports, but also letting the person shine through as the person, right?
Yeah, because I'm interested to know about who they are as a person. I mean, we know who they are for the most part as a coach or as a player, but other stuff are important too, and it can either endear you or make you not like them one way or the other. But you learn more about them, and I think that's really cool.
And even when I ask about sports, like with Dallas the other day, like one of my questions that I had written down to ask Dallas when the Tribe told me that's who we were getting was, when you find yourself in a situation where you're staring adversity down in the face on the field, right? Your team's down a man and it's a level 0-0 game. What is your mentality as a goalkeeper, right? Because I understand how he attacks the game. I can watch the game and see how he attacks it, but I want to know what's going through his head when he looks up and he knows the attack's coming and his defensive back line is down a man and he knows that he's going to have to pick up that slack. What he's thinking and his mentality in the box, to me, is a better question than what tactics do you change up on the pitch to address that. And I think you can ask those questions, but I also think it's fine to say, are you going to cut your hair and let him have a little fun, which he absolutely did and was great.
And I thought, man, Ron Rivera knows my name, and I was all excited about it, and I forgot my name was on my shirt.
The Rob Roush Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you. Be a part of the show, 844-GSP, ESPN, Texas at 71307. The Olympics. We are keeping an eye on what's happening in Japan. And this is, it's very interesting. But Cizo, I prefer interesting where I'm intrigued and not interesting as in, oh God, if this goes bad, one of my favorite things will be taken away from me. Japan has expanded their state of emergency regarding the coronavirus from 6 areas, including Tokyo, to 9, which includes the northern island of Hokkaido, which is where the Olympic marathon will be held, plus Hiroshima and Okayama. The Japanese government has said that a roughly 1 to 2% of the public has been fully vaccinated there. The number that have even received the first dose is tiny compared to other countries, including our own. And there are now tens of thousands of Japanese citizens, including some in high power positions, who are asking the IOC and the Japanese Olympic Committee to postpone or to cancel the Olympics in the face of a large number of breakouts within that country. And the frustrating thing for me here, Lonzo, isn't the threat that the Olympics might get postponed or canceled. Last year in June, when the Olympics were supposed to be held, last year in June, when they said, we are going to postpone the Olympics, my response was, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I get it. We got this pandemic. It's out of control. We don't have vaccines. Like, it is what it is. Let's go. We'll just move it back and hopefully we're good next year. And that's what happened. This year, it's much more preventable. It's something that could be fixed. It's something that could be fixed, right? Japan has millions upon millions of unused doses of coronavirus vaccine that are just sitting in freezers around the country because every time somebody in the government tries to come up with a way to get these vaccines distributed, those in the Japanese government that just love their red tape and love to roll around in it, find bureaucratic ways to prevent this from happening. So you end up with enough doses to vaccinate, I don't know, 40, 50% of the country in a week and a half. And they just refuse to roll them out because of bureaucratic purposes, right? I went to a game in Atlanta last weekend, and you could get vaccinated for free at the Braves game and get a free ticket out of the deal. You can go to Talladega today and get a vaccination, and you can spin your own car. By the way, Lonzo, I don't know if you're ready for a roadie this weekend or if you'd be willing, but you can take your car to Talladega International Speedway, get a vaccine, and spin 2 laps around Talladega in the Hot Rod Low Red sports car zone. That is intriguing for me. I drive a Patriot, so it's not exactly thrilling to take a Jeep around the Dega, but you get the point. If anybody's got a Corvette,
get that thing up to 80 or so. It wouldn't be bad.
You don't even know. You don't even know. The point is, this country is not mandating it, but they are going out of their way to make vaccines available en masse as quickly as they can everywhere, right? Japan is doing everything they can to prevent that from happening. Everything in their power to prevent it. And the issue I take isn't that, it's the fact that the Olympics are now being threatened over it, are now being threatened. There are more than 350,000 signatures on a petition that was submitted to Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike that have been collected in the last 2 weeks. Over 350,000. The petition says money spent on the games will be better used on people in financial need because of the pandemic. On Thursday, Japan reported 6,800 new coronavirus cases, increasing their total to over 665,000 people infected with the coronavirus today. Over 665,000 people have been reported as testing positive. So I'm going to say, I don't have an issue with a sports event being canceled or delayed when there is a problem that does not have a solution. But if Japan was to not let these Olympics go forward, when they are sitting on millions of doses of vaccines that could be distributed to a people willing to take them, that could drop that infected rate significantly, and red tape prevents the Olympics from moving on, so I would have a real hard time. I'd have a real hard time accepting that as a reality instead of just going 3 months ago, you know what, guys? We're just not comfortable hosting and pulling this off. We'll bid for the next one around. Go ahead and let USA or UK or whatever other country has it under control and is ready to move on. Go ahead and let them host next year. I got a problem with it.
I didn't catch if you said this or not. Has the IOC put a deadline on it to know, if it's going to happen or not? It has to happen if you don't say no past this date.
Not that I have seen. But the thing is, it would be 100% up to the Japanese.
So it's up to the host country, not up to okay.
Now, right. The IOC did say last year there was a point of no return where it would be too late to move the Olympics to another location, and I believe that we are past that date of no return now. But now it's up to Japan whether or not they put the Olympics on. The folks in charge absolutely want to do it. The question is going to be, at any point will the Japanese government step in and say, no, we are not going to allow this to happen, in which case we don't get an Olympics, which again would be not only wildly disappointing, but I suspect, Lonzo, the next time Japan tries to bid for a summer or winter Olympics, they would be laughed out of the room, and that will be their punishment for failing to get this one on, especially when, Zoe, the reason that it wouldn't go is easily preventable. I think that would hurt their chances, but since these things are picked for quite some time already, it'd be a while before they get a chance to bid probably. And I think because of the circumstances, they'll still be given a fair shake. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Here's what I do know. If we don't get the Olympics in June, which, by the way, one of my favorite events as a sports fan, Zoe, but as a sports talk radio host, big fan, because there really ain't much happening else in June, right? We're in baseball, and that's really it in June. That's what we got to work on.
Yeah, but we got this now. We can do this.
Oh yeah, I'll never look at this summer and be afraid anymore. We got through the pandemic when there was literally nothing. We'll be okay. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Twitter trending topics wraps us up on a Friday and sends us into the weekend. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio, folks. This is ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
Our friends at QC Kinetics want you to feel better, faster, naturally, without surgery, without drugs, without steroids, and they are doing it right here in Greenville. Listen, the first time I talked to QC Kinetics, I asked them two questions. Number one, what is the science behind this, and can you back it up? Because that's always my first question. And number two, what's the point? Like, what's the goal here? And they did two things. Number one, they presented me with the science, which, again, not a doctor, nor did I say at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I looked through it. And they explained it, and they made it easily understandable. So if you have questions, they can answer all of them. And number two, they said, look, here's the deal. We want to be there for the blue-collar folks. So we want to be there for everybody. We want to be there for the folks that want to be able to play golf, that want to be able to throw a baseball with their kids, pick up their grandkids, and not live in fear that pain is going to take that away from them. That's our goal. And man, do they work to accomplish that, ladies and gentlemen. It is impressive. It is impressive how dedicated they are to helping out the blue-collar folks live their everyday life without fear or concern.
and you can be one of those people. Go to qckinetics.com, QCKINETIX, QCkinetics.com to learn more about the science and to find out how you can get back to your regular day-to-day without fear of pain and without surgery. Go to QCkinetics.com, QCKINETIX.com, or give them a call today in Greenville and in Asheville at 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that free consultation underway, 864-448-3772. It's our friends at QC Kinetics. So there is a, and I don't know if it's going to show up or not, but there is a poll going around of the number of Americans that think they could beat different animals in a fight, right?
Yeah.
Lonzo, there are 6% of women and 7% of men who feel like they could beat a grizzly bear in a fight. A grizzly bear.
They would be eventual Darwin Award winners also.
7% of women, 8% of men think they could beat a lion.
That's just, that's people who are not taking the poll seriously.
It's
probably.
right?
Yeah.
I wonder what the margin of error in this is for people who were just like being smartasses. 8% of women, 9% say they could beat an elephant. 8 women, 9 men say a gorilla. 8% women, 10 of men say a crocodile. 9 of women, 16 of men say a wolf. That's the first spot in the list where I'm like, okay, if you're like a total badass, maybe you could take a wolf.
All right, when you're talking beating, what's that mean? I mean, does it mean get away from, or is it
one of the two combatants breaks off the fight?
Okay.
One of the two says, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. A wolf, you'd have a chance. I saw Liam Neeson do it in a movie.
What about the crocodile? I mean, if it's a smaller one.
You're not beating a crocodile.
Okay, I'm sorry. I haven't seen one in person.
And I'm assuming this is adult, medium size. The men.
What's a medium-sized crocodile?
You're not winning a fight against a crocodile.
Okay. Okay.
The only way you could, if the crocodile, the only way to beat a crocodile and an alligator in a fight is to be able to hold. You can hold their mouth shut, but here's the thing.
Well,
that thing starts rolling, you're done.
I'm just gonna say, are there weapons? I mean, would a 9-iron do it, or are you going with full? Okay, a wedge, probably a wedge or a putter.
Here's the question: which of the following animals, if any, do you think you could beat in a fight if you were unarmed? That's the question.
Even a wolf is kind of, I mean, because they get a hold of you. I don't know.
The best chance you'd have for a wolf is like an eye gouge. or like getting it in the neck, like punching it in the neck, and
or a real good kick to the neck. Yeah, right as they're lunging, maybe.
Kangaroo, 11 women, 17 men. You're not beating a kangaroo. If you
I'd rather go after a wolf than a kangaroo.
Yeah. 12
Coming
to
back.
22% have never seen
Rob
scores
Brown
where
Show
chimpanzees rip a
presents
face
Twitter
off.
trending
Yeah.
topics.
All right, it's time for Twitter trending topics, where I tell Rob what's trending on the internet, and he tells everybody what in the world is going on. I will tell you, not a big day for the topics, but we got a couple. And the first one, I'm just gonna go with the fun one, is Call of Duty.
Don't know why it's trending. Although Call of Duty is one of my favorite game series of all time. They've jumped all over time and let you fight in different wars. But why is it trending today, Zoe?
Call of Duty is about to do an event on the 20th called 80s Heroes event. And they've just released a video just like a couple minutes ago. And the first 80s hero that they're announcing is John McClane from Die Hard. From Die Hard, yes.
Really? Donate that. I'm assuming that Rambo is going to show up at some point.
Well, it's 80s Heroes, and you're going to have Arnold in some form, maybe as Commando or something like that. Or maybe Predator. I don't know.
I'm here for it. Let's go. Now, my skin in Call of Duty is a Mardi Gras cowboy, right? It's like he's dressed like Macho Man Randy Savage, but it's all purple, green, and gold, and he's got like Mardi Gras beads on instead of wrist bracelets.
Doesn't that kind of make you stand out? I mean, is that the point?
The thing in Warzone is there's two types of players. There's the guy who plays all of the skins, which all kind of stand out for different ways, and then there's the cheaters who use the rose skin, which is an all black. Basically invisible skin.
So snipers. You're basically talking about snipers.
Yeah, they cheat, and we all hate them. But yeah, I am down to play Call of Duty as Rambo. Are you kidding? Problem with Rambo is if I go as John Rambo, then I feel obligated to full on role play it, Zoe, and all I'm going to play with is the crossbow and the grenade launcher at that point.
There's nothing wrong with that, especially the grenade launcher.
There is. You're going to get your ass kicked, but you'll look really cool in the process.
Can you be a grenade launching sniper?
I mean, yeah, you can. You can be anything you want.
You get like one shot, and then everyone's going to know where you are. But still,
I carry on my team when I play. I carry an assault rifle and an RPG, right? So like, I'm the only RPG guy in my group, which is not a great loadout because if you go into a building and you find an SMG group, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But if we're out in the open and somebody comes out with us with a truck, get out of the way. Rob Brown's about to wreck some folks.
Will you kamikaze though? If you're near the end and you launch that thing.
Once you're dead, your team can buy you back, so you can come back. But yeah, your team has to collect enough money to buy you back.
Well,
so
what I'm saying, if you could take out two to three members of the other team inside a building with the RPG.
Yeah, like if it ends up on like 4v2, right? If it's a 4v2 scenario. And I know that both are in a room, I will absolutely run in and try to get an RPG to take them both down and let my three guys back clean up. If it's one-on-one, then no, I'm not pulling out the RPG. It's all strategy, baby. Strategy. I'm going to steal the thunder for the second topic, Zoe, because there's a survey going around on the internet right now. What animal could you beat in a fight compared to a medium-sized animal if you're unarmed? And it blew me away. 6% of American women and 7% of American men feel that they could beat a grizzly bear in a fight, which doesn't surprise me as much as I thought it would, Zoe, because here's the thing. I have throughout my whole entire life heard like 5'2" women that don't like a 6'3" built dude that are like, I'm going to beat him up. No, you're not, Cheryl. No, you're not. Slow your roll. All right. 7% of men feel that they could take a grizzly bear in a fight, which means that 93% of Americans are honest, though, and 7% are idiots.
Or they're completely stupid. I guarantee you I could beat a rabbit.
There are 76% of men say that they could beat a rat, which means, though, that there are 84% of Americans who think they can't beat a rat in a fight.
Well, I said rabbit. I can definitely take a rat out. I've done that before. So, I mean,
That's it for the show. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you Sunday at Legacy Early for the Triumph match. Mark Ryan and Diesel are up next on Offsides. Thanks for listening. For Lonzo, my name's Rob. Have a great weekend. See you back here Monday on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN